Well, good morning, everybody. Hey, happy Saturday. Can you believe that we're already getting end of May? I can't even believe it. It's like where did May go? Where did May go? Well, this is obviously a very special machine that we're going to be checking out today. Not just because of what kind of machine it is, but the history of this machine. And really the family legacy that's attached to this machine as well. I'll kind of show you a front shot of this. And this is to Jan Dixon out of the great state of Alabama. And I'm not going to steal any of her thunder because I'm actually going to give her a call. She was a little bit nervous. She said it's still real sensitive when she talks about her mom, because her mom, Betty, was such a significant part of her life and also her inspiration to get involved with sewing. And this machine here, the 130-6, was actually, and I hope I get this right, was actually a gift that her dad bought for her mom. And so it's been in the family from the very, very, very beginning. And it really has been a machine that Jan wanted to preserve and maintain as a family heirloom. And if you've never seen a 130-6, they really are an amazing machine because they, just as a bare bones, PFAFF 130. And the PFAFF 130 was one of the first machines that PFAFF released that was a practical zigzag sewing machine. That's all it could do in the beginning was zigzag. And then they ended up making some improvements because of feedback from their customers. And they added this amazing embroidery kit to the back that's all mechanical. It's all mechanical. If you open it up, and I showed this on one of the reels on Facebook, this is the cam stack right here. And then all of the springs and the mechanisms that have to be, engaging to manipulate the zigzagging stitch is just amazing German engineering. It's just all hook. And I showed a little reel on Facebook of the mechanics of the embroidery kit actually running. And a number of people reached out and said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe, how did they come up with that?" Well, it's like anything innovative, isn't it? You think about something that you want to do, and then you map out a path to try to get to that end, right? And does anyone know? I'll start out with a question as we launch into this live stream. I talked about the fact that this started as the bare bones PFAFF 130. Does anyone know what year? Without Googling it. If you have to Google it eventually, that's fine. But if you don't know off the top of your head, I better lick my lips so I can talk. If you don't know right off the top of your head, then kind of hold back a little bit until we get some folks that have a chance to chime in. But what year did PFAFF introduce the Class 130? What year did they introduce the Class 130, that bare bones zigzagging machine that so many people fell in love with? And in many circles, it was known as the tailor's sewing machine, kind of like the 201-2, right? The 201-2 and the 130 that first came out by PFAFF were used extensively around the world by professional sewers, whether they were tailors or seamstresses. Everyone wanted their mitts on one of these machines because of its capabilities. And then once they added this embroidery kit to it, it was even desired more by folks, even more. They really, really wanted to get their hands on a machine that could do something like this. Hold on just a second. I think that's the owner sending me a text message. Oh, okay. Jan is Susie from Minnesota just sent me a text and said, she didn't actually say this. This is me saying it, but yo, the owner's in the house. The owner's in the house. Like they say out in New York. Yeah, the owner's in the house. So yeah, it's great to have it's always great to have an owner in our midst, isn't it? And Jan, I'm going to give her a call in just a few seconds. And then she'll be able to share whatever she wants to share about the story behind this great machine, a little bit about her mom, maybe. She had written a beautiful letter, and I thought that at least some of the key points of that letter that Jan wrote would be so much better delivered if she shared them versus me reading something. You know what I mean? So she reluctantly agreed. I say reluctantly, not because she didn't want to, but because, again, she's very sentimental. And these are emotional things when you're talking about your mom and you're talking about the birthplace of sewing for you and what an inspiration she was. But I would love to hear whatever she wants to share, and then I can fill in a couple more gaps if need be. So, but I'm going to look in the chat real quick to see if anyone guessed the year of when this machine as a Class 130 was first introduced. When was it first introduced? So we got a number of guesses popping up. We've got guesses from 1932 all the way, I believe, to 1950. From 1932 all the way to 1950. I'm also going to say some quick good mornings as well before we jump any deeper into this live stream, I'll say good morning real quick to Al Koss, also known as Alex. And Al Koss, aka Alex, and his wife, again, are developing a wonderful clothing line out in California that is going to be specifically to accommodate parents that have preemie babies, parents that their baby was born premature. And when you go to the store where they offer all the different clothing pieces for, the onesies and stuff like that for little babies, they're designed for babies that were born full term. There's a certain size, there's certain, fitting for a full size baby. Preemies are a totally different story. And so I think Al Koss, aka Alex, and his wife are stepping into a clothing line business that really, really will fill a vital need, really a vital need. And I'm really excited for them. Again, they're out in California, and it'll be interesting to kind of follow their progress as they begin to develop this business further. So good morning to Alex. Good morning also to Susie from Minnesota, becoming a household name. I don't even need to really say more than Susie from Minnesota. And I just did a great post on Facebook talking about Susie's hats, all the different cow country hats that she's making, and sending them to me at the workshop here. So I, in turn, can then send them out to our cow country family around the world. And like I said in that post on Facebook, if you didn't see it, already, and I might be missing a couple as well, but already Susie's hats have gone to England twice, and rumor has it to Buckingham Palace, at least to the outside of Buckingham Palace. They've gone to Holland, where Rhea, I believe it is from, and they've also gone to Canada as well. Christine was shown on Facebook wearing one of those great hats. So Susie is becoming like a hat maker, world renowned, and they're so much appreciated, and folks are just enjoying them. They're so much fun. Also, good morning to Emma as well. And I think Emma is at work today, but as she gets little windows of opportunity, she pops in and joins the live stream. Let's see who else we have. Also, good morning to Suzanne Coulter. I believe Suzanne just recently was the winner, the recipient, if I have it right, she was the winner, the recipient of one of those pairs of Guggenheim, one of those pairs of Guggenheim professional tailoring scissors. And again, I would love if Suzanne would consider sending a picture of the scissors in her sewing space or holding the scissors, whatever you want to do, Suzanne. It would be wonderful. And that way we can share that with folks maybe on Facebook and just say, hey, come to Cow Country. Not only do you join a great family, but we give away free stuff. Everyone likes something free, don't they? Yeah, they do. And we'll be giving away some more Guggenheim scissors soon, but not right away. Again, they're valued at about $50. Plus, I pay the shipping as well. So it's a very generous gift to receive if you jump into one of our impromptu contests. Very generous gift, I think. Okay, who else do we have? Let's see here. I'm scrolling. Yeah, and again, welcome to our owner, Jan Dixon. Jan lives in the great state of Alabama, and it's always great. I love my Southern customers. I love my Southern customers from Texas to Louisiana to Georgia to North and South Carolina, all the way up the coast to Vermont. I know I'm going the wrong direction now. I was talking about loving the folks in the South, but you know what? Some people move from the South to the North, and some people move from the North to the South. So it's all a blurred line as far as where the boundary and the borders start, right? And where they end. But great to have Jan join us today from Alabama. And also, again, I'll be giving her a call in just a second or so, and then she can share in her own words what she wants to share. All right, who else do we have? Also, good morning to our friend Kevin Orr. Kevin Orr from the East Coast. And I'm being intentionally cryptic. I'm being intentionally cryptic about saying that Kevin Orr is from the East Coast, somewhere on the East Coast, because he works in a very sensitive role with the government providing security for our country. And I'll just leave it at that. But I'm so grateful to all the men and women that work in the intelligence services, whether it's the CIA, FBI, Homeland Security, or any of those other organizations that while we're sleeping at night, they are up, they're awake, and they are watching for any dangers that could affect any of our citizens in the US. And let's just face it, there's a lot of people out there in the world that don't like us. And thank goodness for people like Kevin Orr. And some of you remember Jill Sanborn, Deputy Director of the FBI, and also her husband, retired FBI as well, customers and friends of Cow Country. And apparently, rumor has it, we have a bunch of folks down in the Chicago FBI office that heard about us because some of you don't know this, but this is kind of cool. When we got to know Jill and also her husband, retired FBI, I did a little video and I was talking about, and I got emotional. I love our country. I am a patriot beyond patriots. And I got a little bit emotional talking about the mission of the FBI, talking about how sometimes they get a bad rap. They're not perfect. They make mistakes. They goof up. They're human beings. But I talked passionately about how vital their role is and how they really are genuinely concerned and they're patriots to try to protect our country. Jill Sanborn, a friend of Cow Country, a friend of me, as deputy director of the FBI, got so moved by what I said, my sloppy, almost breaking down into tears as I'm talking about our country and the love of country. She goes into the office for the director of the FBI and she says, "Sir, you got to watch this guy." And so apparently she played that video that we had done talking about Jill Sanborn, her husband as well, and he basically just gave her a big smile and he goes, "Those are the kind of people that make a difference for us. Those are the kind of people that give us the wind to be able to do what we need to do for our mission." So at any rate, you as part of the Cow Country family, know people in high places. Yeah, you do. I shouldn't talk too boldly and broadly, but yeah, the FBI knows about us. And I actually got a special gift. I haven't shown this to anyone. No one knows about this, but I got a special gift in the mail from our friends down in Chicago that run the FBI office down there. Let me show you what I'm wearing. I've got it underneath my DeWalt jacket today. But if you can see that in the picture, who knew the FBI had a SWAT division? But they sent me a little shirt and said, "We want to give our love back to you guys and gals at Cow Country because of the patriots that you are and the love you have of country." So I wear this sometimes, but I usually wear it underneath my jacket so that the bad guys don't come after me too. Because, yeah, we don't need that. It's kind of fun, isn't it? Okay, let me do this. I think I've greeted everybody already. I think I've greeted everyone. Oh, wait, Outboard Tinker. I got to say good morning to Outboard Tinker. They just popped in. And now let's give Jan a call real quick before we jump into this machine and see if she's willing to share some things about her mom, Betty, and also about how this machine came into the family. So I'll give Jan a call right now, and hopefully she'll be able to pick up.
I'm here.
Hey, Jan, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I appreciate you indulging me. I appreciate you indulging me with just doing a brief call. It doesn't have to be anything long or spectacular, from a duration standpoint. But would you be willing to share just a little bit about the roots of this machine? Talk a little bit maybe about your mom, your family, your dad was involved with this as well because I believe he got it as a gift for your mom. But just
Uh-huh.
but just share a little bit of that with us, would you? Because you'll be able to
Oh,
do it.
sure.
You'll be able to do it better than I can. I know you will.
I'd be happy to do that. So, how are you talking on the video in here?
How am I talking on the video?
Yeah.
I don't follow you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm watching you on the
Oh,
screen.
I called your phone with my phone. I called
Okay.
yeah, so I've got a video live stream going, but I can also use my phone to receive calls and text messages all at the
Okay.
same time. So yeah, we're pretty high speed here at Cow Country.
This is
I, I,
really complicated.
I'm telling you something. That's why the FBI has their eye on us because they're saying, man, we don't know what these folks in Wisconsin are up to.
Did it once.
Yeah, and now I'm pulling the state of Alabama into now Alabama's on the radar for the FBI. So good Lord, help us all. Help us all. Telling you something. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead and share what you want to share.
Okay.
So yeah, talk a little bit. How did this machine come into the family?
Well, my dad actually bought the machine for my mother. Hi.
What year was that?
That was in 1955. This is weird because you're on.
You know what you can do, Jan.
So
Jan,
this was in
Jan. Here's what I.
March of-
Jan, here's what I'd recommend you do. Just let me say this real quick. Whatever you're watching the live stream on, if it's a laptop, temporarily just turn the sound down.
Let me do that real
Yeah,
quick.
just turn this because otherwise you'll get like it'll sound like we're stuck in a tunnel together or something like that.
Okay, we're ready now.
Okay. Yeah, that way you won't get that silly echo effect. I remember share your story, but I'll share this real quick. When I made my first call from Europe back to the United States, I was calling my parents to let them know that I was safely settled into Germany. And I made that first call from a German telephone. Oh my goodness, that was the weirdest experience ever. Because it was just like what you were just experiencing. You say something, then you hear yourself in the phone saying it back again. So
I thought you were a magician.
yeah. Well, I am a little bit, but not much. But so your dad bought this machine in 1955.
55. Yes, I was a little over 2 months old, and we lived in a little tiny town in Kansas, Arkansas City.
Oh.
They call it Arkansas in Kansas. It's not going to be Arkansas City. So that's where I was born. And anyway, apparently, Mother had learned how to sew on her mother's old treadle machine.
Okay.
In fact, that's really how I learned. Then I started using Mother's some and bought my own. But anyway,
yeah.
So Mama was good at these old machines, and I don't know if you still have a picture of me and her when I was 3, and she made those matching sundresses. But anyway, she could make that machine hum. She was really, really good.
I'll tell you what. Just hold on for 1 second. Let me show them that picture.
Okay.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
Okay.
Let me see if I can pull that picture up because that's a great picture. Let's see here. And so in this picture, your mom didn't you say she was in her 20s or 30s?
Yeah, I she was 23 when I was born. So she was probably 27 or so. I don't know what I told you, but somewhere in there.
I've got it up on the screen right now if you want to look at
Oh,
your
you did?
laptop.
Okay. I've got my Mac right here in front of me.
Yeah.
There's that delay.
So that's a picture of your mom. She was around 27 and you're 3 years old standing next to her.
And our dresses are exactly alike. And I love that little dress. I remember walking down Main Street holding her hand, and we were in our dresses, and we were so happy. I was so happy that I had a dress like Mother's. I was just always a mother's girl. Don't get me wrong, I love my daddy, but Mama was just it.
Well, and that's true in most families, isn't it? There's just something special. Now, I'm also going to show real quick on the screen. I'm going to show a picture of the certificate of lifetime guarantee that you sent me a copy of.
Yes.
And this is showing your dad. His last name is Maxwell. Purchasing the machine on March 16th, 1955. March 16th, 1955.
Isn't that cool? And I was born at the tail end of 54. So, anyway.
So, how old were you? You were just a tiny little baby when your dad bought this machine in 1955. When did you get a chance to use this machine, if ever, when you were little?
I don't remember using it when I was real little, but I remember as maybe preteen, I started getting interested in sewing, and I actually knew how to use her machine very, very well, but things started changing. I was, when I was a teenager, I was real involved in sports and cheerleading and stuff in high school. So kind of sort of drifted away from sewing.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I used it a lot. I made a lot of clothes on it when I first started working. I didn't go right off to college. I actually did college later.
Okay.
And so I made a lot of my work clothes with Mother's machine. And then she just up and got sick and passed away. And, it was like she and Daddy had just divorced. And I was like, what do I do with this machine? I was executrix of her estate and trying to figure out what to do with her. Not that we had very little money, but still, as 22 years old, I didn't know what to do with all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It was overwhelming.
My father passed away going on about 7 or 8 years ago, and it almost made my jaw drop when I realized all the things over his life that he had collected. Some of them were sentimental, but I don't know if your mom was the same way. Maybe it was something from that era, but my dad had this simple philosophy. You never just have one of one thing. You always have two or maybe three, because you know why? There might be a family member that needs one or a neighbor that needs one. And so as I started going through my dad's stuff, it was like, what, Dad, why did you have 3 of these? Some of these, 4 of these things.
Well, if he was like my parents, they were dirt poor. They were farmers in Oklahoma.
Yep.
I mean, their parents were. So they were always out in the cornfield or the cotton field working. And I mean, Mama told me about a potato sack that she wore to school. I mean, these as children, they had nothing, so they held on to everything that had any value to it because they'd never had anything.
That makes sense, doesn't it? That makes total sense. It's just like just like the folks that went through the Depression. Once they got through the Depression.
Exactly. Yeah. Mother was born in 31 and Daddy in 26. So yeah, they went through some really tough times, and they each had 4 siblings. So just having food on the table was a big deal.
Yep.
So that one picture of me and Mother, I'm getting my strain a bit, but that 57 Chevy was probably the first new vehicle either had ever owned, because they were, like I said, just dirt poor.
I got to pull that up again because I kind of cropped it in a little bit when I clicked it before. I've got
Oh,
to
it looked great though.
I've got to show that car though. That you know who's gonna drool over the fact that you had that car back then is our friend Bill O'Rourke from Kissimmee, Florida. He is a car buff.
Oh, I know Kissimmee.
Yeah, that's where Bill's from, and
Oh, cool.
beautiful car. Oh my gosh.
Isn't it? Isn't it? And it wasn't top of the line or anything, but it was still a new car.
What color?
And
What color was it? You can't really tell.
it was black. It was
Okay?
black, which I would personally would never own one, but boy, I would love to have that car back. Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah. I would. I don't know. I think you have a line of people saying, "Yeah, I'd like to get that car."
Yeah, and it was a 57 Chevy. Somebody asked, looks like maybe a Pontiac or an Olds, but no, it was a 57 Chevy.
57
Yeah,
Chevy.
It was a great car.
Yeah, they built them. They built them special back. I'm going to zoom in on your little face because I just want to.
Can you tell I was so shy then, and I still am kind of, even though I had the kind of job that I couldn't be shy, but all my life, I was in public relations, so I couldn't be shy. But when I got home, I liked being home. Does that make sense?
It does.
Instead of out in the open in the public. Yeah. But anyway, I look shy in that picture.
You do look shy, kind of like you're huddling in by Mama's hip, saying, "Protect me, protect me."
Not funny.
You had really long hair too. Look at you.
Yeah, and I'm still a blondie. With gray mixed in, of course, but
Well, that's well. We've learned more about you. I mean, not only about the machine, but about your mom, about your dad. You were a cheerleader. You were a very active, outgoing person, going all the way through school. It sounds like, and that was a perfect segue to get you into the public eye with PR, wasn't it?
I guess so. I did love my job. I worked for Lockheed Martin for almost 40 years.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a great job.
That's a great company, Lockheed Martin.
Yeah.
Great company.
Great. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and move into this machine, and I'm going to be doing this in kind of a fun way. I always say the owner knows the machine with a greater level of intimacy than I ever could hope to, even if the machine is in the workshop for months. When I sit down to the machine, I finally get it all done. I can only spend a short amount of time sewing on that machine, presenting the machine, demonstrating the machine. So I'm going to try to involve everyone. I'm going to involve everyone in the live stream today. I'm going to be texting to Susie over in Minnesota. I'm going to be texting to her a link that will take them to a video time lapse of all the different stitches that your machine will do. And
this will be so good for me, Scott, because it's been so long.
Yep.
I mean, it really has. I didn't say that I had sold the machine way back in the 70s to a cousin, so I totally lost touch with the machine until it came back to me just a few years ago. So this will be so great to have this, and I thank you so much, and to everybody else who knows this machine and can help me out. This is so valuable.
Yeah, definitely. We'll go over the threading of it, and when this machine gets back to you in Alabama, it's already going to be set up to sew. It's going to have a full bobbin. It's going to have a brand new needle. It's going to be fully threaded, and it'll just be a matter of getting a big. I don't know what is your drink of choice on a hot day?
Lemon water.
So you're going to get a big glass of lemon water. You're going to roll your sleeves up, and then you're going to start unpacking this thing, which is probably going to take you a good hour. And and then you'll be able to get it set up. Now, are you going to put this back into a table once it gets down?
Well, that's funny that you asked that. So where we live is in Northwest Alabama, and there's a town called Florence, about 20 miles away.
Okay, yeah.
And Mama's machine, had totally fallen apart. It was, I mean, not her machine, her cabinet. And so I started looking for a cabinet that was in excellent shape. And you won't believe, I found one along with a Singer 99
Oh, wow.
machine that's in perfect condition. And anyway, I took the Singer out and Mother's machine, because they're the same size dimension wise, it will fit in there perfectly. And I have a Bernina upstairs, but I'm getting to where I don't like going upstairs. So I have figured out a way and a place to put the new cabinet, even though it's 50, 60 years old,
Yeah.
but it looks new. I'm going to put it here in my office. I've got a place for it, and I'll have Mama's machine right here with me.
Right next to you.
I'm so excited.
Right next to you.
Right next to
That's
me,
perfect.
where I want it.
Now,
the rest of however long I've got.
Now you were talking about.
I'm so excited to have this near me. It means so much.
You were talking about comparatives between the two machines. Were you saying that the 99 that you got was similar to this 130?
Well, in size. That's
I wonder
to
if,
be honest with you,
yeah.
I have not used it very much, but I know it doesn't have a zigzag. It's just a plain stitch, but it's a solid built machine, like the PFAFF.
I wonder if, and I'm not questioning you in any way, because the 99, the 99K, and then there's another version that has no decaling on it. It's the plain Jane version. It's called the 192K, the Spartan, and all of those machines are 3/4 size, and your PFAFF here is a full size machine. So if you put them side by side, they should this should almost look like Goliath, and the other one should be like a little David or something like that. So I'm wondering, maybe it's possible, maybe it's a different Singer, maybe a different flavor of Singer than a 99.
And maybe I'm incorrect, but I had Mother's old cabinet, and so I measured the dims on how Mother's machine fit perfectly in it.
Sure.
And this cutout for the 99 or whatever it is, I thought it was a 99-1, is exact.
Okay.
So, maybe I'm wrong as far as I thought it was a 99. It's actually down in the basement.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, and I think I have a 99 within reach, and I'll just for kicks and giggles, I'll put it in front of this machine, and you'll see right away the size difference is noticeable.
Really?
Between the two. So it's possible you've got a 66, or maybe does it have the motor mounted to the back? That's okay. That's all right. I'll show you one. Whatever you.
I was thinking so.
Well, you know what we used to say. Whatever you got, you got. So.
And the old girl doesn't have the recall like she used to.
Oh, you're doing fine. Are you kidding? You're doing amazing. You're doing amazing.
You're sweet.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me do this. I'm gonna grab the phone real quick. I'll let you get back to turning your volume back up on your iPad or whatever it is to watch the live stream, and
Okay.
I'm gonna send Susie in Minnesota a text message real quick with that link, and then ask her if she'll share it in the live chat. Just a matter of copy and paste, and that way folks can start looking at all the stitches. What I basically did is I took one of those stitch cards that had that little inner piece, and you could turn it like this.
Yeah, the wheel.
The little wheel, the stitch wheel.
Yeah,
and there were so many people that I came in contact with that didn't have a wheel for their stitches. So they had a machine like this, and they were using it for straight and zigzag only because they didn't know what the settings were.
That's sad.
So I took about 6 to 8 hours. And I set up a camera. This is a number of years ago, 4 to 6 years ago. I set up a camera on a tripod, and then I angled the camera so it was pointing straight down at the floor. I had a piece of white paper, 8.5 by 11, and then I took the stitch wheel that I had, and I set it on there, and I zoomed in on it. And at each setting, I took a picture, and then I built it into a video, so that.
Wow.
and I did that for the single needle and for the twin needle as well. So
Oh,
so yeah,
great.
so anyone in the world can jump on Cow Country Channel, can type in something like FOF 130 stitch wheel or stitch whatever, and it'll.
Great. Will be so handy as well.
Okay, good. Well, the link, Susie, she'll post it in the live chat, and then
Okay.
you can, like everybody else, you can click on it and then just save it or whatever, and go back to it whenever you want to go back to it. So, but
That's perfect.
I appreciate the call, and
Well,
yeah,
thank you so much for everything, Scott. I am so excited.
yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. All right, well,
It will be great.
I'll let you.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great day after this, and thanks again.
Yep. God bless you.
God bless you, hon. Bye bye.
Well, what a treat! What an absolute treat to have the opportunity to actually talk with Jan over the phone and hear in her own words. Um, you can see, you can tell right away the emotion, the love, the caring that she has for her mom. Her mom was the wellspring, was the inspiration for her eventually to circle back to this sewing machine. And once this machine is set up in her office, like she described, this machine will be a daily reminder of the importance of her mom in her life, the lessons learned, the things that she taught that little girl that we saw in the picture, only 3 years old, and also, just in fairness, circling back to that father, Mr. Maxwell, that lovingly bought this machine for his wife, probably not even realizing at the time that it eventually would go on to becoming Jan's machine. And who knows from there, maybe to a granddaughter, a grandson, a great grandson. I don't know what will eventually happen to this great machine, but I hope it continues to get passed along to folks that love it and enjoy it and delight in it, because that's really what sewing machines are about. They're a tool to have fun and to create things, aren't they? And to inspire others to create things with them as well. So yeah, we'll have to keep our finger on the pulse and see where this story ends up going. And hopefully Jan has many, 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 many years and seasons of enjoying this great machine. Okay, real quick, let me do this. Let me send that link over to Susie in Minnesota and ask if she would please post it in the live chat. Got to find it first of all. Got to find it. And some of you that are real tech savvy, you may have already gone to the channel and searched and found that stitch card. The thing you'll discover is some of the stitch card posts that I have on the channel, originally someone had talked me into doing it, and it was a bad idea. At that time, YouTube would let you set up a video and then charge people to watch it. And that's what I did originally with these stitch cards. And it bothered me after a while because I thought, why shouldn't? Oh, that's a quick little message from my friend Dusty out in California. That's Dusty out in California. We have friends all over the place, don't we? Dusty out in California, he and his partner Dawn originally lived in Colorado. And I got to know him because he needed some parts, and we kind of got into communication. And whenever he needed knowledge about a vintage machine, he would reach out to me and I would share what I knew. And now they moved out to the high desert in California. I never knew there was a high desert in California. Never knew. But apparently there's a high desert area in California. I bet you our friend Alex and his wife probably know where that is. But I've got an open invite to come out there and visit him in his workshop. Dusty, I don't want to digress too much and go too many different crazy directions like I usually do, but you might remember I interviewed Dusty on this channel. You can go to the playlists on this channel and look up Dusty's interview and learn all kinds of cool things about he and his leather work. He's done leather work for Alice Cooper, Johnny Depp, and the list goes on of celebrities. And that was part of his reason in he and Dawn moving from Colorado out to California, is they wanted to be closer to that celebrity hub so that they could offer their very, very incredible skill in leather working and leather creation for a lot of the celebrities that want that sort of thing. I mean, everybody would want that sort of thing, but I'm guessing, and I never asked Dusty what he charges for this, that, or the other thing. But when you're serving a celebrity population, your prices generally go up, 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 because it's such a specialty trade. But yeah, check it out when you have time. Check it out and get to know Dusty through that interview that I did with him. Same thing with Alex Askarov as well. There's an interview with him on this channel as well, and a number of other VIPs as well that I've had the privilege of getting to know, and then in turn sharing them with you, all of you out there as well. All right, blah blah blah. Let me see if I can find this link finally. By the time I find the link, everybody probably already have it because you guys are lickety split. I know you are. All right, let me see if I can find it. Give me just a second here. Getting really close. Getting really close. There it is. There it is. All right. And there may be a commercial that comes up initially, but just click skip on it. Click skip. There's that commercial right there. Daggone it. All right. Share. Copy link. Minimize. 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 Now I need to go to Susie's number. And I'm going to send it over to Susie in Minnesota, and then she can share it with all of you. Why am I sharing this with all of you? I'm sharing it with all of you because, and I just sent it to Susie right now. I'm sharing it with all of you because, like I explained to Jan on the phone, I would love to invite all of you to look at this stitch card, this stitch wheel that I created through still shots, and pick out a stitch that you really would like to see this machine sew. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is, because this is an all mechanical machine and the embroidery kit on the back, like I showed you at the beginning of the live stream, is a combination of a cam stack and a lot of springs. Generally, it does a really good job with these decorative stitches, but once in a while, depending on it's kind of moody. It's a moody embroidery kit on the back of this 1955 PFAFF 130-6. And sometimes I'll go to sew one of those decorative stitches and it'll say, I'm not really in the mood to do that one right now. Why don't you pick another one? So we may experience that during the live stream where one of you will give me a number set up or whatever, and the embroidery kit will say, I don't feel that stitch right now. I just don't feel it. So just be patient as we work with this machine. Imagine the mechanics and the engineering that are involved in a total mechanical output embroidery kit that can generate, well, you'll see the stitch wheel. And like I said, there's also a stitch wheel for twin needle sewing as well. But imagine the mechanics that this machine depends on to generate these stitches. And it does it through the rapid manipulation of a zigzag stitch. That's it. It doesn't use tri-motion like you've seen on some of the machines where it moves the feed dogs. The feed dogs on this machine are in a fixed position of rotation. They can't manipulate themselves. So all the stitches that we're going to sew today are generated through the embroidery kit by generating commands to the machine to manipulate the width and the length of a zigzag stitch. If you can imagine, it's just fascinating, absolutely fascinating what it's capable of doing. Utterly fascinating. All right, so I totally forgot what I was going to do next. Oh, I know what I should probably do next. In honor, I didn't look in the live chat to see if Candido and his family, Rachel, his wife, are with us today. But I wanted to show you these pretzels again. They sent me all these goodies, and I told Candido almost in a confession style. I said, man, I've been going through these pretzels left and right. I sometimes have one for breakfast. I sometimes have one for lunch, and I sometimes have one at dinner. The truth of the matter is sometimes I have two for breakfast, three at lunch, and more than I'd like to count after I have my dinner meal. And dinner meals for me, because I'm down in the workshop so much, are usually more of a lunch than they are dinner. Emma and others that I communicate with behind the scenes know that to be true. I'm in the workshop sometimes till 11 o'clock at night, and then I go up and get a bite to eat because I forgot I didn't eat lunch. So I'm going to have a pretzel during the live stream while we're doing different things. And all I can say again to Candido and to Rachel out in New York, they made these in their country kitchen out in New York and sent me just a ton. You all saw them. Sent me a ton of confectionery and baking goodies, and I've had to increase my walking distance dramatically so that I don't look like the Michelin Man instead of a lean, mean fighting machine, which is what I'm trying to preserve as best as I can. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun trying the treats that other folks make, and then eventually realizing how much work it took. You know what I mean? All right, so I'm going to move these to the side, but I had to show that to y'all real quick. I had to show that to you. So the setup on this machine, let's talk a little bit about that, because Jan said that she hasn't really sat down to this machine for quite a while. So let's go over some of the basics. You move that over there. And also go over the threading of this machine as well. I love to cover that stuff. And if y'all don't know this gentleman here, this is one of our little friends in the workshop, and he represents the German sewing machines that come across the workbenches. So if I'm working with a PFAFF machine, or if I'm working with an Adler machine, or a Phoenix machine, and if you're saying, wait, put your brakes on, buddy. What the heck is a Phoenix machine? I've got it on this channel, and it is a almost unknown German engineered sewing machine that actually has a longer legacy than the PFAFF sewing machine company. And I had the privilege of getting it in the workshop from a local lady and then presenting it to all of you. It has just an unbelievable, you'll see it in the live stream video on this channel, has an unbelievable all wood extension bed. And just, you talk about top shelf design, engineering, quality. These Phoenix manufacturers, they probably kept PFAFF on their guard because they were always stepping it up. You know what I mean? Always stepping it up. So whenever a German sewing machine comes across one of the two workbenches, Herr Obermeister comes on the scene to make sure I'm doing a good job, make sure that I'm covering all the bases. Okay, so let me real quick tidy up this sewing bed a little bit. I've been working on it, touching it. I've got fingerprints on it. Just kind of tidied up a little bit. Okay. So a quick little walk around this machine. We'll look at threading first. Let's look at threading first. So you've got two spool pins. This one is primarily used for winding a bobbin right here over on this end. And when you set this up to wind a bobbin, you're going to go from here underneath this little thread guide right there over the top of this tensioner, this little round tensioner. You kind of go right over the top and then come straight across the machine all the way to this tensioner. And then you're going to go straight up to where that bobbin is. And the easiest way usually is take that thread and give it a couple of reps, turning it towards you like this when you go around that bobbin. And then you go ahead and engage it by pushing this down. Makes contact with that balance wheel rim. And then it is set up to disengage automatically when it gets to a certain fill rate. And then this will pop loose right there. And obviously you're going to disengage the clutch as well when you're winding a bobbin. And I pointed this out in other live streams before, and it always kind of surprises people a little bit. But most of our vintage sewing machines are going to have a balance wheel that's some sort of a cast metal, and it's going to be a ferrous metal, so it's going to be magnetic. You notice when I put this magnet against this PFAFF balance wheel, there's no magnetic response to that wheel whatsoever, because it's a resin, it's a plastic material. The only thing metal over here is going to be that stop action on the end of the balance wheel. That's the only metal component other than underneath where you join up with the main shaft in that. So oftentimes people are surprised. I can't tell you for sure why the Germans decided to go with a plastic resin type balance wheel instead of a metal one like everyone else was doing. It's possible that they thought that that extra weight sometimes can get a little bit of a wobble to it and can weigh that main shaft down, and they wanted to go with something lighter, but it's kind of hard to say. It's kind of hard to say, isn't it? So, but it's real easy to wind a bobbin. Let me go check that text message real quick. Okay, so Jan, the Susie just sent me a text and said that the owner is asking specifically if we can try 622, 622, and I'm going to go over the machine and explain these controls because I think when I did this still shot of all the positions on the stitch wheel, I cut off the bottom a little bit, and it's not clear what Control C is. So I'll talk about that a little bit more during this live stream. Perfect. Okay, good to know. Good to know. So yeah, if it somehow slips my mind, because when you're in front of the camera and you're managing a number of different things, if it slips my mind, remind me that I need to do specifically that stitch. 622, 622. Okay, threading the machine, threading the machine. Thank you, Susie, over in Minnesota for shooting that over real quick. Threading the machine. We talked about winding the bobbin, coming off the top for threading. You cut the spool. You're going to go the same way you do when you're winding a bobbin. You're going to go underneath this thread guide. You kind of bring the thread up from the bottom up and then over the top of this tensioner right there. And if you're looking at this tensioner and going, why does it have that tensioner? Why is that there? The Germans and other makers believed in giving the upper tension a little bit of a boost, giving it a little bit of a boost when it came to managing heavy sew-offs. So what this tensioner does right here is it gives a boost to the upper tension to already begin to define that lock stitch. When you run it through there, it's going to put a little bit of a drag on that thread, and it's going to give a boost to the upper tension. Now, I totally tore apart this upper tension. And if you decide to take that on, if you decide to tear one of these upper tensions down on a 130 model, be incredibly careful. They're very complex. And in the back of this, where normally we would have a simple little pin to release tension so that there's no pressure on these discs, this particular German designed upper tension actually has a tiny little pin. It's probably about 4 millimeters long. It's inside of the upper tension. And then there's a long pin that's probably almost 20 millimeters long that's in the back of the machine that extends forward. My point is, there's a lot of little pieces, some of them that are not anchored down to this upper tension, that you can lose if you decide to get ambitious and tear the upper tension apart. So just be real careful, have a nice open space, be really calculated and slow about it, and then you can tidy everything up. And what some people do, I know Emma does this, maybe others, but if you decide to tear down something that's fairly complex, Emma and others will actually set up a little video camera like on their phone, and they'll actually videotape themselves taking it apart. So if they get distracted, if they get confused, if they get interrupted, they can go back to that video and remember exactly what came off first, how it was orientated, and get that upper tension properly calibrated again. Get it properly calibrated. And if you don't know what I mean by calibration, there are certain discretionary things you can do when you tear an upper tension apart and reassemble it. There are certain discretionary things you can do that will predispose that upper tension to interacting with that thread differently, either favorably or not so favorably. And maybe eventually, when I get closer to retirement, I can do a live stream video actually taking you through that step by step on different machines, because the upper tension is really, people oversimplify it and they miss out so much and they create so many issues for themselves because they don't understand the principle of calibration. Okay, blah, blah, blah. We've got another little hidden control over here. I've talked about this in other live streams. There's a little lever right here. See me moving it? There's a little lever right here on the side of the upper tension. And what this is designed for is it's going to determine the range of motion for this take-up spring, this check spring right here that you can see me moving right now. It's going to determine the range of motion for this check spring. Now, if you're sewing heavy duty, you're going to push it all the way down to the bottom, like so. See how far I got it down? Almost at the 6 o'clock position. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow that the range of motion of that check spring to be a little bit longer, so that it's going to be pulling a little bit harder on that thread to define that lock stitch. You move it down to the 6 o'clock position for heavy duty sewing and for sewing where you're working with multiple layers, all the way down to the 6 o'clock position. If you're sewing with more average, moderate type materials, you're going to be moving it up to the 5 o'clock position or the 4 o'clock position. If you're sewing with lighter materials like silks and satins and that sort of thing, you're going to be moving it all the way up to the 3 or almost the 2 o'clock position, where you can see where I have it right there. So super light, it's going to be up near the 2 to 3 o'clock position. Super heavy duty, all the way down to the 6 o'clock position. A lot of folks that own this machine don't even know what this thing is for. They never use it. They don't want to bother it because they're thinking they're going to mess something up. But if you're sewing something super heavy duty, or if you're doing leather sewing and you keep bumping up the upper tension, but you're still not getting the sharpness of that stitch on that lock stitch, in all likelihood, once you have the knowledge of what this thing is for using, once you understand its purpose and how it regulates the range of motion on this check spring over here, you're probably going to notice right away, I get it. I'm having issues with that lock stitch because it's in this position and it should be all the way down here at the 6 o'clock position. So I've got a longer range. That check spring is pulling harder to define that lock stitch. And most of our sewing today, though, is probably going to be more in the lighter range, although we're going to have a stiffener to generate some of these decorative ornamental stitches. And so in that instance, since we're going to be doing a lot of needle movement on this machine, I might actually operate it a little bit further down than I normally would, just to make sure that that lock stitch stays nice and tight and well defined as we're laying down a lot of thread today doing some of these decorative stitches. But that's what this is for right here. So if you've never used it, put it into use and you'll be amazed at the clarity of stitch that it does for you without even having to adjust the upper tension whatsoever. Yeah. So once we come from the thread, I'll just show you again from here to here, kind of underneath over here on that tensioner right there. Then we're going to come straight down to the tension discs, and you always do it with the presser foot in the up position. See how those tension discs, they have no pressure on them right now. They can wiggle, jiggle. That's the way you want to thread a sewing machine. There should be no tension on those discs, so you can draw that thread nice and deep into those discs and make sure you're getting proper upper tension. You come around the bottom of there, and then you have to interact with this little check spring by bringing the thread around the edge of it so that that thread is saddled right in the middle of that check spring. Can you see that? I hope you can. I think you can. And then once you get it saddled into that check spring so that that thread is running over that, you then go underneath this thread guide right here, and you come over to this thread guide. So you come underneath here, you then come to this thread guide, draw the thread behind here. You have to kind of slip it in through the back so that this thread guide will keep that thread flowing in a straight pattern up and down to the take-up arm. Then we're going to come from here up to the take-up arm, and you're going to thread the take-up arm from right to left, and you'll do it in the hole that's on the bottom. There's 2 holes for twin needle sewing, and you'll thread it through the bottom hole from right to left. We then come down to the faceplate. There's another thread guide right there. Kind of see it right there. We're then going to come all the way down here, and there's another thread guide just above the needle right there, and you're going to draw the thread in from the right to the left so that that thread is centered right on that needle as you come down and you thread the needle from front to back. From front to back. Now, as far as the orientation of the bobbin, you're not going to be able to see it, but I'll tell you this, that when you put the bobbin into the machine, you're going to have it with the thread coming underneath the bottom. And if you want to check to see if you've orientated the bobbin correctly, as you pull that thread with it in the bobbin and you look at the back of it as if it's in the machine, that bobbin will be turning counterclockwise. Okay? So that's the basic setup of this class 130. And I've got this second bobbin right here in case we go absolutely crazy and I run out of bobbin thread. I've already got one pre-wound, and I can go ahead and pop this in straight away. And no, you can't have my pretzel, Herr Obermeister. You can look at it, but you can't have it. This is mine. I'm going to need this energy during the live stream today. Okay, so a walk around the machine as well real quick. Let's go around the machine. Serial number right down here. You can see the serial number right there on the bottom of the machine. It's going to be the same serial number that's on that lifetime guarantee certificate that I showed you a picture of and that Jan has down in Alabama. So it'll have the same serial number. And PFAFF does a fairly good job of dating their machines. So I believe Jan said that her dad bought this in 1955. So if you were to look up this serial number, you would find that it was probably manufactured in the year before, probably 1954. And then they sold it the following year in 1955. That's pretty typical. See if I can tilt this back a little bit so you can get a better look at that serial number possibly. Maybe a little bit dark right there, but over on this side, we've got feed dog drop right here. If you turn this clockwise, it's going to make the feed dogs drop. Then you turn it back counterclockwise, and those feed dogs will pop back up again. So if you're looking to do free motion quilting, freehand embroidery, you'll want to know what this is used for so you can drop the feed and stop that feed when you're doing that type of sewing. Stitch length right here and reverse. Stitch length is going to be anything from right about 0, you get real close to it, right about 0, all the way up to 5. So if we want a real nice long stitch, we're going to push this all the way up. And then if you want to reverse sew, you have to push this stitch length controller all the way to the bottom. And then you'll be sewing in reverse. Over here, we got a bunch of controls. I'm going to be talking about this cluster of controls here. Now, when Susie from Minnesota had sent me that message about the owner wanting to see a certain stitch done, she mentioned 3 numbers and 3 letters. 3 numbers and 3 letters. The first letter she mentioned was A. This is Control A right here. And the way you change Control A is you slide this to the side. When you slide it to the side, don't just slide it and let it go, because there are some very, very delicate springs inside of here. Let me move my microphone back to where it was. Hold on a second. There we go. I think you can hear me better now. There are some real delicate springs inside of this embroidery kit mechanism. And if you just slide it over and let it fly, you're possibly going to damage one of those springs or cause one of those springs to come loose or to some other way get affected. And then your mechanism won't be happy. But you just take it like this if we're going to change it. And you can see our little number right there is on 4 right now. If I move my finger, I think you can see that. You just take it to the side and bring it back. Now we're on 5. Now we're on 6. Now we're on 1. And so on and so forth. I almost feel like I'm operating a vending machine. At any point, as I slide Control A over and it comes back, I'm looking for a gumball. I don't know if anybody else thinks like I do. I think like a 9-year-old, but I'm going through all this work to change Control A, and I'm wanting to get something from it, something that I can chew. But instead, I'm going to get a decorative ornamental stitch, and that's probably just about as good. Then we get over to Control B right over here. Control B. Control B, it's really important to know. I've talked about this with other vintage machines that have an on and off switch. And on some of the models like the 332, the 380, and a couple of others like that, they have a Control E on top that you have to turn on the cam function. On this 130-6, the turn on is moving it from 0 to a position of 1, 2, or 3. And that's going to help you to know what setting to have. But if you have it on 0, you're not going to be getting any cam function from the machine at all. This is your on-off switch. So you need to push it. You push it back gently like this, and then swing it over. Now we're in position 1. Push, move it over. Now we're in position, I got so excited there. Now we're in position 2. Push it over. Now we're in position 3. And depending on what stitches are selected today, we're going to need to know that, because on that stitch wheel, it's going to tell you a Control B setting. It'll either be 1, 2, or 3, and we'll need to get that right. Right now, I'll shut it off until we jump into this fully. So now the cam function is off. The last setting we have to do is right over here. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's actually two more things we have to do. 2 more things we technically have to do. Okay. So number 1, as we're looking at this control cluster right here, this for normal sewing and zigzagging is going to be our stitch width control. So if we move it all the way over to 0, like it is right now, we're going to get a straight stitch. If we start to move it to the left between 1 and 4, we're going to be getting a zigzag of different widths, 4 obviously being the highest. This is going to be our adjuster right here. You can see this little screw right here, this little adjuster. That's going to be for setting boundaries for buttonholing. I never use it. Some people might. Some people might use it every day. I'm not that person. But that's what this little control is. If you screw it in, it sets different boundaries as far as doing buttonholing on this machine. Finally, we have our needle position right here. This is going to be the control that we need to know about for this live stream today, because this is Control C. I've already shown you Control A, Control B, and finally, Control C. And you change this by pushing it in. See, I'm kind of pushing it in. Change this by pushing it in and then pivoting it up or down. See if I can do that. There we go. Fingers on there. When you push it in and you move it all the way up, like I just did, we were all the way kind of down like this. There we go. We were kind of down like that. I pushed it in and I moved it all the way to the top. Kind of keep it back and then pull it all the way up. When you do that, you push it in, you move it all the way to the top. That's going to be setting number 1. Setting number 1 as far as Control C. So at the top for Control C is position 1. And we'll need to know that again for the stitch wheel, because it's going to ask us to set it on a certain setting, either 1, 2, or 3. And when you move it all the way to the top to position 1, you're going to have a far left needle position. A far left needle position. When you move it to position 2, one slot down, see if I can do this with one hand. Maybe not. It's a little tricky to do it with one hand. I think I almost got it. Wait a second. There we go. So now I have it in position 2. It'll be a lot easier to do it with two hands. When I move it to position 2, we've got a center needle position. And we'll need to know that for the stitch wheel, because on certain stitches, it'll tell us to set Control C with a position 2, which is a center needle position. Finally, if we push it in and we move it all the way to the bottom, like this, you saw that our control right here. And for some of our German machines, even though on the stitch card it doesn't identify it, on most of the German stitch cards, this is going to be Control D. So you can see as I'm manipulating the needle position, Control D right here, this black knob, is going up or down. See that? Up or down. There's our position 1. Oh, one hand is so doggone tricky. Position 2 and position 3. It's not hard to move it. It's just tricky to move it and stop it in the right place when you're doing it with one hand and two fingers. So anyway, long and short of it is, now that we're down to position 3, which is pushing this in and all the way down, position 3 is going to give you a far right needle position. And for some of the stitches that we try to do today on Jan's 130-6 will require position 3, a far right needle position. So that's a quick explanation of this. The other thing that's really important to know, we've covered Control A, Control B. We've talked about Control C, which is needle position right here. There's a second, as if it couldn't be a little bit confusing. I talked about Control B being an on-off switch, right? Control B is kind of an on-off switch, because if we have it set on 0, we're not going to get anything from the embroidery kit. But there's a second on-off switch of sorts, a second on-off switch. It's this little control right here. And this little control right here is really important, because when this little pin, let me get really close. See that little pin right there? When that little pin right there is saddled in that little groove on the front of Control D, it's settled in that little groove right now on Control D, you're not going to get anything down at the needle with relation to the embroidery kit. All of your stuff will be moving back here. It's going to be doing its little dance. Control A will be going all over the place. I'll show that to you while we're doing some sewing. I get mesmerized by watching Control A do its little dance. So all of this will be doing everything it's supposed to be doing, but you won't be getting any decorative ornamental output unless you grab this little control and you pull that pin out and you rotate it to the side, just like that. And then you got to take Control D, because there's a little plate. There's a little plate right behind here. And when I release this little pin so that that pin is going to the back, it's got to get into a slot so that then the embroidery kit can manipulate Control D and generate the stitches. Again, all the stitches we're going to try to do today are generated by the rapid manipulation of a zigzag stitch, making it narrow abruptly at different stages to generate these stitches. It's all a zigzag. That's all it is. But because of the German engineering of the embroidery kit, you'll look at that and you'll go, no way is that a manipulated zigzag stitch, but that's exactly what it is. So again, if this pin is out here saddled like it is right now, we're going to be able to get a straight stitch, a zigzag stitch, and all of that very nicely, but we're not going to get the embroidery kit output. We pull it out like this, rotate it to the side, and then we gently move this until we hear it click into that track on the back of here. So the embroidery kit then has control over Control D. Okay, I got to kind of move it around. There it is. So once you move it to a position, right now, Control D is locked. Don't try to force it. Don't force it unless you retract this again. And then you can have control over this. Once you get that into that little track on the back, you just barely see that little plate right there. There's a little track right there that pin is saddled in right now. Once that pin is saddled in there, don't touch Control D because the embroidery kit is in control over it. Once you're done doing that embroidery stitch, pull this back out, saddle it back in there, and then you have control back again to manipulate that stitch width. But once you give it to the embroidery kit, I'm pulling that out, moving it to the side. See that? It's to the side. Then I kind of give this a little bit of a gentle movement until it pops into that track. There we go. And you know it's in the track because when I gently move this Control D, watch what happens to Control A back here. Now, if I take that control back, I pull that little pin and I put it in that little saddle again. Now I can move this and Control A doesn't move because that pin is not saddled in that little track on the back of here. Oh, I hope that makes sense. It's really important you know that because I've gotten calls from people before. They watched this stitch wheel video on the channel just like you are right now. They set Control A, they set Control B, they set Control C, and they're like, everything's moving. It's all moving, but I'm not getting anything down at the needle. I said, did you set the pin off to the side? What pin are you talking about? This pin right here. You got to pull it out. It's got a little spring on it. Pull it out. Just move it to the side and then get that into the track. There it is. There it is. Yeah. So that's what we'll be doing today. Once we get to that phase is we'll be setting this all up so that we can generate those fun stitches that all of you are going to be involved in picking. Okay. All right. What didn't I cover? I think the only thing else I didn't talk about is this light. This is called a spotlight or a cone style light. Unfortunately, I did not have an LED bulb that would fit this. I had I think it's a 5/16 bulb that would screw in or should screw in, but this is a smaller socket. I think it's going to take a 9/16 LED bulb if Jan wants to go online and buy one, or I think you can buy them at Home Depot too. Just make sure that it's smaller than it's one size down from a 5/8 as far as the socket, and then you can replace it with one of the LED bulbs that they offer different places. What else? Did I miss anything? I'm just looking around seeing if I missed anything. I just remember the embroidery kit on the back of here has this little door that opens. You just kind of grab it like this, pop it open. With the machine unthreaded, as you turn the balance wheel with the cam function engaged so that the cam stack and everything is moving, anything that moves or pivots, you put a couple drops of oil on it about every 6 hours of sewing. So a lot of moving parts in this embroidery kit, and you'll want to keep them properly lubricated all the time. I didn't specifically mention it, but this has an original PFAFF motor. It's 1.3 amps, which is a lot of power, And it is being controlled. See if I can set the camera down without dropping it. It's being controlled by an electronic foot controller. I got these wires all tangled over here. Hold on a second. I'll get it. It's being controlled by an electronic, there we got her, being controlled by an electronic foot controller. And this is one of the better electronic foot controllers that I've seen. Some of them, because they use circuitry inside of here instead of carbon stacks to control the flow of the electricity and that, this one is set up pretty good where it really does a good job of managing the speed for the most part with this large PFAFF motor on the back. And you can see here it's got a data plate that shows that it's rated for up to 1.4 amps. And again, if you're brand new to this channel or whatever, you always want to have the foot controller rated higher. There it is. You always want to have the foot controller rated higher than the motor, because the foot controller is the gateway to the electricity coming into the machine. It has to pass through the foot controller first, and then it makes its way to the motor. So if this is underrated, the foot controller is going to get super hot. And that can even happen to electronic foot controllers. So you'll want to have this always with a higher amperage tolerance than the motor itself. And this is perfect. 1.4, we have a 1.3 amp motor. So they should be able to work together very, very nicely. All right, got that down. So if I'm going to be doing a basic straight stitch, let's say I'm going to be doing a basic straight stitch. I set that up by going to our Control D, our stitch width controller, and I bring it all the way to 0. I generally will sew with a center needle position. So I'm going to take Control C here. I'm going to push it in and move it up one space. I think I went too far. There we go. Now I've got a center needle position, so I move this to position 2. I've got my cam function disengaged right now because my little pin is saddled in that little cradle space on Control D. So the cam function, as far as whatever this cam would do back here, is shut off. Also, Control B is shut off as well, being on 0. Control B set on 0 right there. So all of my cam stuff is off right now. All we're going to get is a good old-fashioned straight stitch and or a zigzag. And then I have my stitch length over here. I'm going to move this all the way almost to the top to give us the longest straight stitch that this machine is capable of doing, which is going to be right around 5 stitches per inch. Right around 5 stitches per inch. You remember we recently had that more contemporary machine in the workshop. I think it was called the Designer 1. The Designer 1, which was a Husqvarna Viking machine made in Sweden. And that machine blew us away because that machine could generate on its longest stitches 3 stitches per inch. 3 stitches per inch. They were absolutely, you could see them from the space station out in outer space. They were that big. That's how big they were. They were huge. And some of you, again, sometimes a teacher, always a student, some of you help me understand that those things are referred to as what kind of a stitch when the stitches are that big, 3 stitches per inch. Someone can type it into the live chat what that type of stitch is called. Yeah. So we should have everything pretty much set up now to do a good old-fashioned straight stitch. And I'm just deciding what I want to stitch it on. Oh, I didn't talk about the needle. I need to talk about the needle. The needle we're going to be using today came from Susie in Minnesota with that big cluster of needles she sent me around Christmas time. And we're going to be sewing with a Schmetz stick naddle embroidery needle. A stick naddle embroidery needle is what we're going to be using today, since we're going to be sewing stitches that would be considered to be embroidery type stitching with the embroidery kit on this 1955 PFAFF 130-6. So that's our needle right there. And obviously when you put the needle in on this machine, the flat side is going to be the back, which means on the back of that flat side, what is another part of the needle anatomy that's going to be on the same side as the flat side? Does anyone know what that is? It's going to be what the hook passes by real close to grab that thread in the sewing process, but it has a specific name on the needle. And that specific area of the needle is just above the eye of the needle. It's just above the eye of the needle as far as the needle anatomy. So if someone wants to type in what that little indentation is on the back of the needle that's on the same side as the flat side, and that hook on the machine sweeps by it real quickly to grab the thread, that way we can have a little bit of a class talking about needle anatomy as well, which is kind of fun. All right, let me look at the live chat real quick, and then we'll jump into our first sew off. Yeah, all of you are correct. Alex got it first. Susie jumped in. Emma jumped in. It's called the scarf. And it's really important to know about positioning that scarf, because the scarf is that natural design indentation into the needle that allows that hook to sweep closer to that needle as it's passing down through the throat plate down towards the raceway in the hook system, so that it can grab that thread and complete the sewing process. So it's a big deal. You need to know which way to orientate that scarf. Sometimes we're orientating it to the left, sometimes to the right. And in this instance, we're orientating it to the rear of the machine. So we know that that hook, as it's coming around, that rotary hook is coming around really fast. That rear, that needle grabbing that thread as it passes by the scarf in that downstroke of the needle bar. Yeah, great job. All right. Hello to Jenny as well. Jenny must have popped in while I was over here. The team has already welcomed Jenny. Great to have Jenny here. So let's start out with a good old straight stitch, and then we'll jump into stuff as well. Good old straight stitch. Kind of deciding what I want to stitch it on. And again, I'm using an embroidery needle, so I probably don't want to use leather, right? Although I've sewn leather with an embroidery needle before. I've done it. So I think we'll sew it on cotton to start out, and then maybe we'll do some leather later. Once we've done all of our embroidery stitching, we'll do some leather later, so that if we kill the needle, we're less likely to run into issues near the tail end, hopefully. So I'm going to get this lined up. This material that I'm using is 100% cotton, and then it has a stiffener in between, which will help us quite a bit when we're doing some of the embroidery stitching. You know what, as I'm looking at this is the only material that I cut today, other than some other material pre-cut, some leather at. This was my test piece that I did off camera as I was getting the machine, the final adjustments and getting it zeroed in. I was messing around with some of the decorative stitching over here. Maybe I should sew this straight stitch on this material so we can leave this whole playground open for our decorative ornamental stitches, because there's so many to choose from, right? Why don't we do that, if that's okay with everybody? I'll go ahead and lift this up. I'll move this to the side. We'll hold off on using that for right now, and we'll use this little edge that we have open right over here. Matter of fact, what I'll do is, so it's a little bit cleaner, I'll grab my Guggenheim scissors, and we'll just do a straight and a zigzag on this little section right over here. Yeah, I don't know if Suzanne, not Susie. I don't know if Suzanne has tried her Guggenheim scissors yet that I sent her, but I'll tell you one thing. I would never go to another scissors after trying these. Somebody would have to send me a pair and bake me some cookies, maybe give me a hug, and then I would try their scissors. But other than that, I'm sold right now on Guggenheim scissors. I really am. All right, so let's get this in place. We'll do a straight and a zigzag on this 100% cotton here. And then we'll jump into some of the more fun stuff, some of the other fun stuff. I'll probably use my little clips so this doesn't shift around quite as much, hopefully. Set that right there. Put this right there. And put this one right here. I put that one upside down, didn't I? Yeah, that's okay. All right, so let's do a straight stitch down. You can take a look at that straight stitch, and then we will jump into a zigzag, and then we'll do some of the other fun stuff. And always when you launch, I talk about this all the time. I probably harp on it almost, but make sure your take-up arm is at the highest position when you get ready to launch, and you'll get a better result. All right, let's check this out. I think that's a pretty good shot. Yeah. All right, here we go. Foot controller, got it? Okay, ready. This thing has so much get up and go. I'll tell you one thing. It really, I didn't sew too straight either, but that's okay. All right. We'll lay down a zigzag next to it, and then we'll look at two of these at the same time. All right, let's do a zigzag now next to it. I'll try to sew a little bit straighter this time, but I'll tell you one thing, this has a lot of get up and go, and I've got to really watch it. I'm just going to check my balance real quick. That looks good. Okay, so we're going to do a zigzag now. It's real simple. Just take your Control D and move your Control D over to whatever width you want. Let's say we want to go crazy. We're going to go 4 and 4, or 4 and 5 technically. Stitch width goes up to 4, stitch length goes up to 5. So we're going to do a 4x5, 4x5 stitch length. All right, let's give it a go and see what we think. Make sure my take-up arm's all the way up. And we'll do this zigzag stitch now. I'll try to sew straight, but I won't promise you I'll sew straight. Here we go. Cut the edge of that. There we go. Lots of get up and go. Lots of get up and go. Okay, so let's get that camera pointing this way. We'll see if we can take a look at these. And again, just ignore the fact that I didn't sew absolutely straight. I got close, but not quite. This can be our straight and our zigzag. Our lock stitch on the back. Beautiful stitching. All right, I'm going to move that to the back. And now we'll move into some of our decorative ornamental stitching, see if we can pull some of that off. It's going to require a little bit of a setup, but not too much. I'll get this material into place. And again, realize that this is a mechanical machine. So we may find that some of the stitches don't quite do exactly what we want, and that's okay. Yeah, get that back into position. Okay, so let's do some setup, and I think we'll do the one that the owner picked out first. So let's do a couple things for setup here. Let me go back to that text message that Susie sent me so I can get the proper settings. Okay, so it looks like A6B2C2. Okay, so we got to go to Control A first. Yeah, that's got a good view, I think, of that. We got to set this to 6, and we're all the way down on 1. So I begin sliding it again. Don't let it fly. Hold on to it as you change positions on Control A. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Control A is on 6. Control B, we need to move to position 2. So you just, again, take this, you push it back, and then move it over position 1, position 2. Hopefully you can see that's saddled right now in position 2. Little piece of thread there. And then finally, we have to set Control C, which is our position. And Control C is supposed to be in position 2, which is a center needle position, which is where we are already at, I believe. Let me just double check. That's position 3, position 1. And that should be position 2 right there. Okay, so we've set Control A on 6, we've set Control B on 2, and now we set Control C on 2 as well, which is a center needle position. And now finally we need to adjust our little pin so that we're actually giving control over the machine to the embroidery kit. So we pull this out, move it to the side, and then I just gently move this so it gets into that track. It's already in the track. That worked out nicely. Then the other thing we have to do is we have to decide on stitch length. On a lot of these stitches, the shorter the stitch length, the better definition of that stitch you're going to get. So I'm going to take us from 5, where we just launched, all the way down to right around 1. Way down there. Just almost right above the demarcation line where the 0 is. You got 0, you've got a line, and then we're just above that line, probably at right around 0.5, 0.75. Just above that line. And that should get us a stitch pretty close to what the owner, Jan, wanted us to try to do. We'll do that as the first one. And let's just hope for a good result. Again, with a mechanical embroidery kit, sometimes it does weird things, but generally it does a really good job. All right, get that back down. All right, let's give this a go. I'm just going to really quick check my setup. Control A is on 6, Control B is on 2, Control C is on 2. We've got the cam activated by pulling the little pin out. All right, let's give this a go. And again, just kind of listen to this machine run. I'm going to try to run it steady. But again, when you're working with a mechanical machine with a standard motor and you're using an electronic foot controller, regulating the speed is just a little bit different. It's a little bit takes a lot more practice, which I probably don't have the practice down yet, but I'll give it a try. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens. Oh, you know what else I'll do real quick? Hold on a second. What I'll do as well, real quick, so you can watch Control D, is I'll bring up the camera shot just a little bit. Yeah, I think you can see that in the shot. That way, while Control D is moving, you can kind of watch it do its little dance. All right, here we go. It's a cool stitch. I like that stitch, Jan. That was a great choice. The only thing you couldn't see, is you couldn't see Control A up here doing its little dance too. I'm going to change the orientation of my thread right now. Right now I've got the thread coming over the back, and it hopped out of this thread guide and this tension disc right here. So I'm going to change the orientation of that, see if that, sometimes things are just a little bit sensitive. Sometimes things are a little bit sensitive when that thread is feeding in a certain way. So we're going to flip that spool over so that that thread is coming over the front instead. You know what? I'm going to go one more. Let's see. We'll try it like this. If it hops out of there, there's nothing wrong with running the thread on this spool as well. So we'll give that a try, see if that behaves itself. All right, let's take a look at this stitch. And I don't think we went short enough. We could have gone even shorter. We should have gone even shorter, and we didn't do it. Should have gone even shorter to tighten up that pattern more. So on the next stitch off we do, I'm going to move that stitch length even further down towards that line just above zero. Just above zero. Because this one could be a lot tighter. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now before I forget. So this is Jan's stitch. This is the one that she picked. Let's check this. This is our top stitch. If you look real close, you can see what I'm talking about, that this decorative ornamental stitch is being generated by the manipulation of stitch width in the form of a zigzag very, very rapidly. Now our lock stitch, we'll turn it over and look at that lock stitch. Look at it like this first. So right now we have good balance. We have very good balance for these decorative stitches we're going to be sewing between the lock and the top stitch. But you can imagine this, if I had gone even closer to that line just above the zero, I could have tightened this up a lot more than I did. I could have gone a little bit more crazy, which we'll do on the next patterns. And I'll have to get help from the leadership team on what numbers folks have picked from the stitch wheel. What stitch folks have picked. Yeah, but that's a good start. That gives us a good impression of what this machine is capable of doing. Again, using nothing other than the manipulation of a zigzag stitch width very rapidly as it's going through that cam generation. Okay. What other stitches did you all pick? Let's see what else you picked. Yes, I do have polyester thread today. I don't have embroidery thread. And this particular thread was made in Mexico. This particular thread was made in Mexico. 100% polyester. And this is a Coates & Clark, the one that I use a lot. It's the bigger spool. I think it has 250 yards, 100% polyester. And again, made over in Mexico. threads are made in Indonesia, Mexico, and other places like that. So what numbers do we have? Do we have any other numbers that y'all want me to try, or should I just go to the same stitch wheel and pick a couple others out? Goofing around. See, I did a lot of job on these in making that stitch length a lot shorter and tightening that pattern up quite a bit. I did less of a great job with Jan's first stitch, but generally it's a very good looking stitch, even the way I had the settings on the machine. No, I don't remember seeing the name Diane before. Welcome to Diane. I think that's the first time I'm seeing your name. Diane Azola, Diane Azola. I hope I'm saying your last name correctly. Maybe I should just stick with Diane. But welcome to Diane, and I know my leadership team is like, boom, they're on it. So that you've already been welcomed by them. I'm sure you've been welcomed by others as well. But whenever I see a new name pop up, I love to say, great to have you here. Great to have you here as part of the live stream on this Saturday. So I'm not seeing any other numbers, so I'm just going to pick one then. And again, Susie gave the link, and when you click on that link, it'll take you to something that kind of looks like that. Something like this. You'll have the ABC, and all I need is the number. So in this case, it would be 431. And then if I click the play button, maybe I'll get what I'll get. Oh my gosh, skip ads. There we got 422. That's kind of a cool one. I think I'll try that one. Oh, it just went by. So that was 422. Let me try that one. 422. 422. All right, let's give that one a try. So we're going to go to Control A. And we'll have to go all the way around to bring it back to 4. Right now, you can see we're on 6. Okay, and I think I said 422. So we've got 2 there. And we've already got the needle position in position 2 as well, which is a center needle position. And that's our stitch. So let's see if we can give that one a go. See what we get. 422. I think that's what it said. I hope that's what it said. Let's see here. Yep, 422. 422. All right, let's give this one a try. And I did shorten up the stitch length just a little bit more. So we'll see if that tightens up that pattern even more. I would get a better result if I were using embroidery thread or an embroidery floss type thread over this standard Coates and Clark thread. Nothing wrong with Coates and Clark. It's a very good thread, but the embroidery thread would even do a better job. So it's all about setup, isn't it? It's all about setup. Let's give this one a try, see what we think. Oh, I like this one too. I still think I like Jan's. I think I like Jan's better, but this is a real cool one too. And by shortening that stitch length even more, I might even go a little bit further than I am right now. And I'm way down there. But we're starting to really tighten up that pattern quite a bit. The other thing I did not tell you is the stick needle embroidery needle that we're using, the pack of needles that Susie gave me. Has sizes 7511 and 9014. I'm using a 9014, so it's a little bit bigger of a needle, ideally, than you would want to use for basic embroidery sewing. One of the better needles for embroidery sewing is going to be a 7511. So we're bigger than the ideal size, but I chose that with the idea that we might try some of these decorative stitches on leather, and I wanted to give us a little bit of an edge in having a little bit more of a sturdy needle to go through the leather. So that's why I picked the bigger one in this set that Susie gave me. But I definitely like this pattern. It's a good looking pattern. And again, imagine the engineering behind using the functions of a zigzag sewing machine to generate ornamental stitching by manipulating the needle incredibly rapidly in the sewing process. It's really what we're looking at is a zigzag on steroids, if there is such a thing. All right, I'm just checking my position here. So that should be our top stitch, unless I got it all screwed up. I think that's our top stitch. So the first one was Jan's stitch, and then the one below is the one I just selected. Oh, let me change my camera back because I can't see what you're looking at. There we go. Now I can see it. I had the screen on the stitch card or stitch wheel, and I couldn't see the stitching on the camera. It's a pretty stitch too, isn't it? That's a real pretty stitch, I think. And they really do, they present better when you do them vertically. Don't you agree? When you show them in a column, when you look at them in a column versus horizontally, that you can really see the beauty of that stitch pattern much easier, I think. Well, you can look at those two side by side, and you can see the impact that I brought by just moving that stitch length a little bit shorter. I could probably go even a little bit further, but it really tightens up in it, and it defines that pattern even better, doesn't it? I have no doubt that Betty uh, certainly sewed these stitches as she was using this machine over time. No doubt. So that's our top stitch with the two stitches that we've done thus far. Really quite lovely, aren't they? Quite lovely stitches. And again, to imagine that this is being created by those cams in the back, the cam stack in the back, telling that needle what to do and manipulating that needle, executing nothing other than a zigzag by, making it incredibly narrow and much wider somewhere in the middle. It's changing that stitch width rapidly, manipulating Control D to give us this output. It really is quite a wonder, isn't it? Quite a wonder. Oh, there I am. How about our lock stitch? Let's take a look at the lock stitch as well. That's our lock stitch there. And again, if we were to use a smaller needle, 7511 instead of the 9014, if we were to replace our Coats and Clark thread with some embroidery thread or some embroidery floss type thread, boy, oh boy, we could really, really make these stitches pop even more, couldn't we? This again is our lock stitch, our stitch on the bottom. Look at it like that. So between the lock stitch, there we go, right there, at more of a distance, you're kind of seeing the totality of stitching. Lock stitch and the top stitch. So I'm going to look at the live chat, see if anyone else has picked out a stitch that they want us to try. And we will keep marching forward, putting the decorative side of this 1955 FOF 130-6 to work. Press your footage down. That's the only other thing I didn't show you, but you guys are so smart. You're like, duh, we knew that. But as we're sewing something like this, we might have to adjust the presser foot pressure, right? So this is our presser foot pressure adjustment right here, just adjacent to the light mount. So you turn this clockwise if you're sewing something that's heavier or multiple layers, and you turn it this way counterclockwise if you're sewing something much more delicate, much on the lighter side. Okay. All right, let's see if we have any other numbers. Now I'm looking up towards the top. I see Jenny ended up typing in some numbers, so we'll go ahead and do that. If there's any, if you would please enter your numbers again, or maybe one of the leaders can scroll up. I don't want to leave anybody out. If you already entered 3 numbers for A, B, and C controls, let's do it again. Please do it again, because I'm not going to scroll all the way up to try to find it. I'll ask if Susie or Emma or one of the other leaders can go ahead and do that, and then just type it in again so we don't leave somebody out. Okay. 6-2. It looks like Jenny put down 622. 622. And then Project. Oh, this is fun. I don't know that I've seen this name before either. The Project. Oh, that's cool. What a cool screen name. I feel inspired to ring the bell. Yeah. That's a cool name. The Project. Yeah. 622. 622. Oh, and the project, you know what? Don't do me a favor. I don't want to be rude about this. I don't want to be rude. But if you're curious about the status on your project, I say it all the time. I'm a one-person operation. When a machine comes in, I log it in. I try to get it in a rank order with all the other machines that I showed you in that video reel on Facebook. Machine after machine after machine after machine after machine after machine. And then ultimately, I have to go through all the setup of getting ready for a live stream like this one and present that machine. Then I have to go through the process of carefully packing that machine. Every step of the way is something that I do myself. You know, my little friends are really cute, but they don't help me. They don't help me with the work. So if you have a question project, it probably would be more appropriate to reach out to me, send me a text message, send me an email, send me a Facebook message, and ask me privately instead of asking me publicly in a live stream when we're focused on an entirely different machine. We're focused on a FOF 130-6. We're not focused on a Husqvarna Viking right now, 6000 series machine. So let me just ask you to be considerate and let us stay on task with the machine that we're presenting. Just as when I eventually get to your machine, you probably wouldn't appreciate another owner interrupting the live stream to talk about your project. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And if you don't like me saying that, I'm sorry, but that's what I wanted to say and what I had to say. So let's stay focused on Jan's machine right now, this 1955 FOF 130-6. And then feel free to reach out to me either during the live stream and I'll respond afterwards, or reach out whenever it's convenient to you through any of those modes of communication. And I'll try to share with you an update as far as where your project is at. Okay. Yeah. I think I was hopefully my leadership team would agree that I handled that with dignity and grace and professional. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Hello to Sarah as well. Hello to Sarah. No, and I'm not trying to beat you up. I'm not trying to beat the project up. But yeah, if you do something in a public forum where our focus is on this machine. This is on Jan from Alabama and her mom Betty. We're not focused on your project right now. So that's the only thing that I'm trying to, let's stay on task. Kind of like in school. This is our classroom. We need to stay on task because we already run real long, which is fine and good. But if we get distracted by other projects that are in the workshop, that's a better discussion to have afterwards. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Okay. If Susie or any of the family members, we need to find out more from Sarah what's going on. Sarah has a quilting shop. I didn't know that. Boy, am I out of the loop. I am out of. So if Sarah has a quilting shop, she had a sale. I hope the sale went really well. I hope you sold everything. Yeah, that's awesome. It's really cool. Very, very cool. Very cool. Now, since I got to pick on Sarah just a little bit, Since Sarah was late to class, I'm going to ask Sarah specifically. No one else can help Sarah. Sarah's on her own because she was late to class. And I don't know if Sarah got a late pass from either Emma or Susie. If not, you have to go to summer school. Sorry to tell you that. You got to go. If they don't give you a late pass when you show up late to the live stream, then you're going to summer school unless Susie says, here's a late pass, you're excused. Or Emma gives you a late pass and says, you're excused. Then, hey, that's up to them. I'm good. I'm good. But I got to ask Sarah, the 130-6 was built off of the framework of the original Class 130 series that PFAFF introduced. What year did they introduce the original Class 130? What year did they introduce the Class 130 originally? Let's see if you know that. We're asking Sarah. So if Sarah needs to Google it, that's fine. But that question is only for Sarah because she showed up late. And Sarah, I'm grinning like a possum right now. I'm not beating you up about showing late. I'm glad you had a sale at your quilt shop. I had no idea you had a quilt shop. How cool is that? But I want to give you that question. Now, if one of the leaders wants to give you some hints or jump in or something and say, oh, by the way, the date that Scott is looking for on the first Class 130 is the same year that Singer came out with the 1591. The same year that Singer came out with the Class 15-91. If that helps you, yeah, cool. Yeah. And I didn't point that out before, but yeah, this Class 30 series was introduced by PFAFF in the same year that Singer introduced the 1591. The 1591, again, is that little brother of the 201-2 that has that potted motor on the back with gear-to-gear drive. So in the same year, what a great year. What a great year to introduce a machine like this as a Class 130. And then also Singer at the same time is going, hey, look at us. We came out with a machine called the 15-91, and it has a potted motor. So what a big year. What a big year for sewing machine manufacturers. What a big year. Yeah, we kid around about the late passes. We kid around about summer school, but I love it when the leaders will issue a late pass. It just shows that, you know what, we love our family. And our family sometimes has other things they have to do on a busy Saturday. And we're just very thankful and very blessed that they come to class when they come to class because everyone is busy. Everyone's busy on a Saturday. They just are. Okay. All right. If one of the leaders wants to type the date in because I don't want to leave Sarah dangling out there any longer. So if one of the leaders wants to type the date in that the Class 130 series was first introduced, which is the very same year that Singer introduced the 15-91 that we've shown on this channel, maybe not a million, but a lot of times. That would be great. And then we'll have that date in there so that everyone can be reminded about that date. And you get into some of your other groups and circles on Facebook or Etsy or Pinterest or any of those other places, that question is likely to come up. They're going to be talking about a PFAFF 130. No one else in that group is going to know when that model series was introduced, but you will, because you're that much smarter than all the other folks. You're that much smarter. And no one's typing it in yet, but I'll actually type it in. I'll actually type it in. (1932), and we were talking about the Singer 1591, the big brother, the Rolls Singer sewing machines, the 201-2 was introduced 3 years later. And I want to stay on task with the PFAFF machine, but just for general knowledge sake, so the 1591 comes out in 1932, the same year as the Class 130. 3 years later, they introduced the 201-2 by Singer, which has a rotary hook system instead of an oscillating hook system like on the 1591. Our machine today, like the 201-2, also has a rotary hook system as well. So that hook is going around and around and around instead of rocking from side to side like this, like on a number of the machines. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, and it is a beautiful machine, Sarah. I agree 100%. It's a beautiful machine, and it is a machine that has been in the family since the very beginning. It was bought brand new in 1955, and Betty, the mother to our owner, ended up using the machine a lot, and then eventually Jan inherited this machine, and now it's going to be used by probably a number of people in the family. And if you're wondering if it's heavy, it's definitely heavy. It's very, very heavy. Very, 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 very heavy. All right. So let me look at the next number. I think I'll have to scroll up for it now. What was that number that one of our folks wanted to see? Okay, 622. It looks like 622 and Project had written it. And then also it was written originally by Jenny Folsom. And Jenny is really becoming quite good at these impromptu contests. So far, Jenny has won 2 different sets of needles. She won a set of needles, the double eye needles that I had purchased to give away. The Schmetz double eye needles. They're like a twin needle, but the hole is right vertically above the other one. And then she also just won a set of needles that Alex and his wife had donated recently, the Easy Thread needles. So if you run low on needles, buddy up to Jenny, because Jenny's going to have a stockpile of needles soon enough, and you maybe could borrow one off of her or something like that. I have no idea. Okay. So 622. Let's set that one up now. And Susie, just a quick correction in what you typed into the live chat, dear. Change that from a 15-92 to a 15-91. So Jenny will go ahead and update what she typed into the live chat, changing that model that was introduced in 1932 by Singer to a 15-91. And I've talked to you guys about this before in other live streams. Singer had just a bazillion subversions of the Class 15. I've read them off to you one time, and you have to take like a deep breath. You start reading, then you have to read more, then you have to read more, you have to read more, you have to read more. They just had a ton. I think it was close to 30 subversions of the Class 15 machine, one of which was the 1591 that was introduced in 1932. Okay, so let's do this next one. I think it was, I totally lost track. It was 622, right? Yeah, 622. Pretty sure. All right, 622. Yep, 622. Okay, so let's set this up for the 622 stitch now. So we'll start on Control A right over here. We got to move it from 4 up to 6. We got to go over to Control B. And we have to do nothing. We have to do nothing because it's already in 2. You have a choice of 0, which shuts it off, or 1, 2, or 3, and we're already on 2, so we're good to go. And we're also good to go on needle position because our needle position right here, which is Control C, is already in position 2. So we don't have to do anything. How easy is that? So let's do this next stitch that folks wanted to see. And then we will see if there are any other stitches selected. Otherwise, I'll select some, or if Susie wants to select some, or any of you out there want to go to that link that Susie posted where you can look at that stitch wheel frame by frame and look at all the stitches for single needle that we can pick from today. There's just a slew of them that you can potentially pick. All right, and I've got that stitch length way, way, way down. So let's do this next stitch and see what we think of this one. Take up arm all the way up. And see, it's interesting. We don't talk about it very much, if at all. But I was having issues with this thread during the sewing process work its way free of this thread guide and this tensioner right there. We changed the orientation of the thread spool from coming off on the back so that the thread was coming off the front. We basically just flipped it upside down. No issues now. No issues with it coming misaligned. So that's just a little tip. If you experience the same thing where the thread works its way loose of those thread guides or the tensioner, go and just flip your spool of thread so that the thread is feeding the opposite, off the opposite side of the spool. Yeah. Okay, let's give this a go. We'll do this next stitch now. I'm going to try to guide this material and also show you this at the same time. Let me stop for a second, check my alignment. Yep. Maybe I'm easily entertained, but I think that that's super cool. I think that's super cool. All right, let's take a look at that stitching now. And this was the 622 that Jenny wanted to see. And then also our friend had retyped as well when I couldn't find where it was right away. And again, I'm using an embroidery needle. I'm using an embroidery needle, but it's a 9014 because we might do some stitching on leather as well. And so, our definition is as far as the pattern, won't be quite as tight as it would be otherwise with a smaller, say, a 7511 needle. But these are the three rows that we've done so far. The one on the bottom is the last one we just did, the 622. There we go. Now I got it pointed the right way. And again, we're accomplishing these decorative ornamental stitches simply by the machine manipulating stitch width very rapidly. It's basically modifying very rapidly a zigzag stitch to generate these ornamental patterns. Beautiful stitching. Turn it over. Look at the lock stitch. Look at the lock stitch like this first, and then I'll turn it to a vertical column, which I think it presents the stitch even better. And again, I might even go a little bit tighter on the stitch length to try to get even better definition on these stitches. But the fact that we're using a 9014 embroidery needle, it'll be a little bit more of a battle than if we were using a 7511. Go vertical now. You can look at those stitches a little bit easier, I think, that way. Very nice stitches. I don't know if we have any other numbers that folks have selected, but I've got quite a bit of space left on here where we can certainly try many of the other patterns that are on that stitch wheel. I don't know if Jan is still in the live stream, but she wants to pick another stitch off the stitch wheel. And maybe if Susie is willing to post that that link to the stitch wheel again, so that folks can find it more readily. One, two, one. 1, 2. Yeah, let's give it a try. And let's give 1, 2, 1 a try. See what we get with that. So we go to Control A first. And we only had to push it one time, so we're on 1 now. We're already on 2 here. Control B is already on 2. And now we have to go to 1, which is going to give us a far left needle position. So we've got to move this needle position Control C. We've got to push that in and move it all the way to the top. Again, the top is going to be position 1, middle is going to be position 2, and then position 3 all the way down is going to give us a far right needle position. So we got to push that in and move that all the way up to give us a far left needle position for this next stitch pattern that Susie from Minnesota picked. Okay, let's give this one a try. 1, 2, 1. Okay, take up arm all the way to the top. Go, 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 go. Good. Okay. All right, here we go. Here's our next stitch. And I just got a text message. Hold on real quick. Yep, I got it, Jan. Absolutely. Jan has Susie's back. Jan has Susie's back. So Susie had posted 121. So I just got the machine set up for that. And then Jan sent me a quick text and said, "Hey, let's do 121." So we'll do 121 next. And then let's get some other folks looking at that stitch wheel through the link that Susie posted. And let's see if we can pull some other stitches. I'd like to do, we don't have to fill up this entire piece of cotton over here, but I'd like to do, a fair number, to run this machine through the paces and see how it does. So this next one is 121. Let's give this a try and see what we think of this pattern. All right, here we go. Oh, that's an interesting one. It's almost little hills or something like that. Yeah, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. You can see the little bumps going across there. So this is 121. Let's see what we think of this one, and then we'll see if we can get some other possibilities. Otherwise, I'll be glad to pull some up myself, and we'll put those into work. Okay, so this is 121. This one actually, because of the way it looks, it might actually present better if I hold it horizontal, but we'll see. We'll start like this. Wait, let me check the orientation. That's the top stitch. We'll start here. We'll look at this one. And again, we would get better clarity of stitch if we were using an embroidery needle that was a little bit smaller than the one I chose. But with the possibility of doing leather, I didn't want to try doing too much leather on a 7511. Let's take a look at this one. Yeah, those are really beautiful. All of them together, you could use all of these on the same project, almost in this order, and get some really interesting outcomes, couldn't you? Let's turn it like that. Yeah, very cool. I like this one better when it's vertical, I think, but it's still quite a lovely stitch. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. I wonder which patterns were Betty's favorite. Jan's mom, Betty, I wonder which pattern she liked best. And I don't know if she had access to a stitch card or stitch wheel or not. I would assume she did with the machine being bought new. But if she didn't, boy, she would be blown away by some of these stitches, wouldn't she? Yeah. Then our lock stitch on the back. Look at it like this first. I really have that stitch upside down, don't I, that we just did. Let's turn it like this. This again is our lock stitch. Beautiful patterns. Beautiful patterns. Again, the wonder of this machine generating these by rapidly manipulating the stitch width of the equivalent of a zigzag stitch. These are all being created with a zigzag stitch that the stitch width through the cam function of the embroidery kit is rapidly manipulating through the width, the presentation of those stitches. Really quite phenomenal. Very, very progressive for the time. Very, very progressive. All right. Do we have any other numbers? Otherwise, I'll pick a couple others out, which is fine. I can certainly pick others out. Two, three, two. 232. Pick 232. Let's check out 232. So we go over to Control A. We have to up one because we're on one right now, and we have to go up to two. Then we're going to go over here to Control B, and we've been stuck in position 2 for a long time. Now we finally get to go into position 3. And then I think right now we're in position 1. We're in position 1 on needle position, which is a far left needle position. And now we need to get back to the middle needle position, which is position 2. So I've got to grab this, push it in. See, we're down in position 3. Now I need to come up 1. It's a lot trickier than it looks when you're doing it, because I got the camera right here and I'm trying to do it with one hand. It's a little bit trickier. Okay, that should be position 2 right there. As best as I can tell, it's position 2. So let's try this next stitch that Susie picked out, I believe, and we'll see what we think of this one. 232. All right, here we go. Get my take-up arm all the way up. Yep. Actually give us a little bit different angle this time. See if I can go all the way on the other side of the machine. Go all the way to the other side of the machine, which means the camera cord is going to be like in my lap. The camera cord will be in my lap, but we'll see if we can get the camera right about over here so that we can see these controls, these two right here, and also see the needle. Let me see if I can get the camera angled right. Okay, I think that's about as close as I'm going to get. So 232 now, and we'll see what we think of this stitch. All right, here we go. Oh, that's an arrowhead thingy, whatty-collie. I know I'm getting the name wrong, but that's like almost like an arrowhead or a Christmas tree, isn't it? Isn't that a fun one that Susie picked? Beautiful stitching, and we're only touching the tip of the iceberg. Only the tip of the iceberg on all the stitching that this machine can do. Not even talking about the twin needle sewing. The twin needle sewing that this machine can do. We're only looking at single needle sewing on this stitch cart. And it's just amazing what it's capable of doing. Again, you think about the fact that we don't have the benefit of a computer board. All we're doing is manipulating a zigzag rapidly with stitch width, and it's generating all of these outputs for us. Absolutely phenomenal. Let's take a look at this one now that Susie picked out. I think it was 232. We'll look at the top stitch first, and then we'll look at the lock stitch second. Beautiful stitch. Let's turn it like this and look at it like this. Absolutely phenomenal, isn't it? What if the question ever comes up, what can you do with a zigzag? This is it right here. By manipulating that stitch width rapidly, this is what you can do with a zigzag stitch. Absolutely phenomenal. What a great machine, right? No wonder, giving some credit to uh, to Betty's husband, giving some credit to Betty's husband. Boy, did he pick out a machine, didn't he? Jiminy crickets! There's all of our top stitch patterns together in one little cluster. Let's turn it over and look at the lock stitch. Turning it over, look at the lock stitch. This is our last pattern right there that Susie helped pick out. Get really close. And again, if we're always talking about constant and never-ending improvement, right? We can always make things better. As phenomenal as these stitches are, they really are very, very impressive, very beautiful. We could make them even better by moving down to a 7511 needle instead of a 9014, and by using some sort of embroidery specific thread. An embroidery specific thread would really knock it out of the park. I've got it pointing down. Let's turn it like this, point it up. Let's point it up. So this is our lock stitch, and that pattern on the far left. On the far left is the last pattern we just sewed for Susie. Christmas tree pattern sorts. Christmas tree. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe a candy corn or something. I don't know what you'd call it. You can call it whatever you want to call it. Yeah, lock stitch. And the top stitch. 1955. The Germans figured out how to do this by manipulating a zigzag stitch into doing all of these decorative ornamental stitches. You know what? You got to tip your hat. That absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. No tri-motion. No tri-motion. The feed dogs are just moving the material. Not like some of the machines that we've sewn on recently where the feed dogs are going back and forth. All we have is the needle here quickly being manipulated by that cam function of the embroidery kit, and we can generate stuff like this. Just mind-blowing. Look at that. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Wow. Yeah, exactly. Herr Obermeister just said, wow. See if you can watch his lips move. See if you can watch his lips move. That's about as excited as he gets. But he did say, wow. I heard him. I know I heard him. I know I heard him say, wow. what else do we have? We already do 611? No, we didn't do is 611 is a new one, I think, Susie, right? 611. I just saw that Susie typed that in. 611. 611. All right, let's do 611. 611, we have to go to Control A first. And we have to move it from 2, where it's starting, all the way over to 6. Again, notice when I'm pushing this Control A over, when I push it over, I don't just let go of it, because there's some real delicate springs in here, and I don't want to break them. So kind of push it over and then bring it back gently. So now we're on 6. Now we have to take our Control B. We're on position 3 right now. We need to bring it all the way over to 1. And again, you move this by pushing it back gently and then just swinging it back and forth, whichever way you want to go. Okay? So that's our B control. And now we need to move our C control, which is our needle position. We need to move our C control to position 1, which I think we might already be on that. Position 1 will be a far left needle position. Let me just check. Nope, we weren't. We were in position 2. So I pushed it in, I moved it up, and now we're in position 1, which again is going to give us a far left needle position. Okay, so let's try this one now and see what we think of this one. All right, take up arm all the way up. All right, here we go. Let me just pause for a second and try to bring the camera down there so you can see this needle doing its thing. I'm going to hold the material with one hand and try to get you really close to the action. Okay? All right, here we go. I like this pattern too. Very cool pattern. This is 611. 611. Hopefully I'm not running out of bobbin thread. I don't think I am, not yet. All right, so let's take a look at this one now. We'll look at all of them side by side. It's kind of fun. It's our top stitch. Look at it like this first, and then we'll turn it sideways. Look at the intensity of that pattern that Susie picked out. The intensity of what that needle has to do to generate that. Just unbelievable. Beautiful stuff. Totality, I'll kind of hold it back like this. Totality of the stitching that we're looking at so far. Turn it over, look at that lock stitch. This is our lock stitch now with this last pattern that we just did, the 611. Kind of go like this first. Beautiful, beautiful. Sideways. Beautiful pattern. Wow. Susie has really good taste. That's a beautiful pattern as well. So let's do this now. Has anyone else picked out another pattern for us to try? And I need to look at our time to see how we're doing on time, and then we'll decide how many more we want to do. And again, if the owner Jan wants to pick another pattern off of that stitch wheel that Susie shared the link on earlier, go to that stitch wheel, scroll around. You can fast forward by just dragging that little bar left or right, and you can look at all the stitches on that stitch wheel for single needle sewing, and then you'll be able to pick out the stitch that you want me to try during this live stream. I want to involve all of you, but I can't force you to be involved. So if if you want to go there and look at the options and give some feedback as far as what stitch you want to see, awesome. If you don't, then we'll just pick some more ones, and then we'll wrap up this live stream shortly and let everybody get into the rest of their Saturday. So it looks like we've been running about 2 hours and 47 minutes. We're going to try to wrap this up pretty soon. So I'll give us another camera angle so we can watch those controls working. And then we'll move towards wrapping this up. So it looks like we're looking at 431 now. That's a new one, I think. 431 is a new one. 431 is another stitch option. Oh, hello to Becky as well. I missed saying hello to Becky. Becky popped in at some point. Great to have Becky here. Great to have Becky here. I should scroll up real quick before we jump back. Okay, I think I said hello to everybody else. If I missed somebody, please forgive me for doing that. But 431. 431. And when you're dealing with this particular machine, unlike the 332 models and some of the others, and I can actually show you one of those stitch cards real quick. I think I can. These are some of my stitch cards in reserve. So working with a 130-6, we only really have three set points. We've got control A, B, and C. I've shown that to you a couple of times, several times. This is our control A, control B, and then control C is our needle position right here. When you get into some of the other PFAFF machines, like the 230 and the 332 and the 338, these models right here on this stitch card, instead of having 3 set points, we actually have 4. So there's a difference right there. As you move between the different PFAFF models, you might have additional set points as you move into this machine series. The 230, which in German is 230, the 332, which is 332, and then finally the 338, which is 338. So as you get into this series of machines, you've got 4 set points. We got it easy today, don't we? We got it easy. We only have 3 set points that we have to change on the machine. This is the single needle side, and then the twin needle side over on this side. And that's the way all the stitch wheels or the stitch cards are generally set up by PFAFF, is you've got a single needle and then you have a twin needle on the other side. So I just wanted to show those to you so you can appreciate how easy we have it today with only needing to set 3 points on the machine in order to get the result that we want. The same thing is true. I'll just show you real quick. The same thing is true of this series of PFAFF machines. Instead of having 3 set points, we've got 4 when we move into these models. This is another series of PFAFF machines. The 260, which is 500 and then we've got 262, 500 and then 360, I think that is 300 and then this 362, 362, and then finally the 368, 368. So, yeah, all these other machines, we have to set 4 points on Jan's mother's machine, Betty's machine, now Jan's machine. We only have to set 3 points. So, yeah, jump in there. If you're in the shadows, jump out of the shadows just long enough to give us 3 numbers, and then we can put it to work and see what we think. Okay, let's see here. 431. 431. 431 is what we were going towards, I think. 431. So we got to change Control A to 4. We've got to move Control B from position 1, where it is right now, back over to position 3. And then finally, we have to move our control here, Control C. We have to move that to position 1, which is all the way to the top, and it's going to give us a far left needle position. We might already be there. I think we might already be there. Position 1, position 2, position 3. There we go. So I just moved Control C all the way to the top, which gives us a far left needle position. So now we'll try this next stitch and see what we think of this one. And again, just to keep it a little bit different, we'll move to the other side of the machine, say right about there. And that way you can kind of watch the needle, sort of. There we go. You can watch the needle, and you can also see the controls at the same time. All right, let's give this one a try. 4, 3, and 1 as far as Control C. All right, here we go. Oh, I almost made a mistake. Take up arm all the way up. Let's not launch down there. It's going to bind things up a little bit. Let's go all the way to the top. All the way to the top. All right, here we go. Let's try the stitch now. I'm going to stop right there. This one is kind of an interesting pattern. It's got a really tight cluster, and then a couple little bumps. Looks like 3 bumps. So yeah, this one will be interesting to look at. This one would probably work best if we were stitching it down on a really long border, and then we could see the repeat of that pattern more frequently. Here we're only sewing about 4 or 5 inches of material, so we can't see the repeat of that pattern quite as often. You can see it's only when we ended at the end of the material right here, we only started to repeat that pattern then. It's a really, really elongated pattern. So we won't be able to see it to its totality because it just started to do another pattern cycle as we ended, just as we were ending. Move the camera back over there. And that's the thing with patterns. You have to kind of, as you're looking at your projects and how you're wanting to apply that stitch, you've got to kind of look at that pattern and see whether or not in the space that you're allotting that stitch, if it's going to be practical. This one would be a much larger space that we'd want to use a pattern like this last one that we just laid down. Okay, let me go like this first. I think this is our top stitch. We'll look at it like this first. There's our little bumps, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see as we get near the end, we're just starting to move into that repeat series again, right near the end of the material there. I'll go like this actually. See that way over here, we're just starting to move into that next cycle of the pattern. It's getting ready to repeat itself, but it's a very elongated. It's not tight like the Christmas tree one or some of the others. This one, it would really be greatly used on a wide space where you're able to repeat it over a long length. We'll turn it over. We'll look at the lock stitch. This is our lock stitch now. We'll look at it like this vertically, and then we'll turn it horizontally. And you're going to have stitches when you do them. You're going to have some stitches that you just love and others that you might only use once because they just don't fit your needs or they don't appeal to you. The appearance of stitches is very subjective, isn't it? It's very subjective. So one person will look at a stitch and it's the cat's meow. They just love it. Another person will look at the same stitch and go, no, I don't like it. I don't want to use it. But that's the beauty of having stitch options, isn't it? With a machine like this is you can love some stitches and repeat them regularly through different projects, and other stitches you can just, I'll keep that in reserve. I'll keep that in reserve. All right, let me get the material lined up. I'll see if there's any other stitch options that folks have typed in. Otherwise, I'll pick one or two more, and then we might lay down some stitching as well on some leather. That'll be our last sew off in case I kill the needle. And then we'll wrap this live stream up. But it really is a privilege and an honor to have a machine like this, bought new 1955 by Mr. Maxwell, Betty's husband. And then eventually it went through the family, different migrations. It sat idle for quite a while. And then eventually it circled back to Jan. And she found me. And then I was able to go through and get this machine exactly the way it needed to be so that she can enjoy it for many more generations, hopefully. All right, let me take a look at the live chat, see if we have anything going on there. I don't see any input right now. Susie just asked the same question. So I'm going to go over to the stitch wheel myself and see if anything jumps off the page for me. I see one that I'm kind of looking at over there. So I don't think we did this yet. I don't think we did. We did something similar to it. I don't think we did 332 yet, have we? I don't think we did 332. This one right here, I'll show it to you on the screen. This one right here. So if we didn't do that yet, I'd like to try that 332 one and see what we think of that. 332. And again, if you're in the live stream right now and you want to pick out a pattern, if Susie would be willing to post that link to the screen that I just showed you. It's basically it's a playlist of sorts on the Cow Country YouTube channel that all it has on it is the stitch cards. And again, watch out because some of them were set up originally as a video you had to pay for. It wasn't an exorbitant amount. I think it was like $2.99 or something like that, something ridiculous like that. But I put a stop to that. I didn't want people to have to pay, and so then I created this list and a couple of others that are royalty free. You just put them to work. Okay, 332. Let's set up 332, and then we're gonna move towards a little bit of leather. We'll wrap this up. So Control A, I've got to move to 3. We're on 3 now. We're already on 3 here. So Control B is already on 3, 3 and 3. And then we need to move needle position to a middle needle position. So I think right now we're left needle position, if I remember right. We'll move this down. There we go. That's 1. Can't tell if I was all the way down or not. Okay, that should be position 2. It's sometimes hard when you're moving Control C. It's sometimes a little bit hard, a little bit tricky to know if you're in 2 or 3. So what I usually do is I go all the way to the bottom to 3, and then I'll come up halfway, or I'll go all the way up to 1, and I'll come down halfway to get into position 2. So I think I'm in position 2, about 99% sure. But yeah, it's a little bit tricky, just a little tricky sometimes. All right, let's see what we think of this pattern now. And I've given you a couple different vantage points on the machine. Let me kind of move in, kind of move back a little bit. And you can kind of look across the machine. See, can you see that? You can't see the top one, but you can see this, Control D. So let's take a look at this and see if you can watch this stitch down. You can see what's kind of happening down here at the needle, but you can also see Control D getting manipulated to generate this next stitch. Okay? All right, let's check this out. Take up arm all the way up. All right, here we go. Oh, our thread slipped again. Our thread slipped again. Hold on one second. Could be the type of thread I'm using too. We ran all those other patterns off. It didn't slide onto there. I might also make an adjustment on this thread guide right here and make sure that it's tight enough to the body of the machine. So, all right, let's finish this off. All right, I'm going to stop right there. Yeah, we did one similar to this, but not the same. It's going to be different for sure. You can see it straight away. Okay, let's check out this one. This is the one that I just picked. I think it's a cool pattern. There's our top stitch. And the last stitch pattern we just did is this one all the way on the right side of the screen. And again, we're going to get a little bit better pattern definition if we go to a slightly smaller needle, but we're going to lay down some stitching on leather, and I'd like to stick with a 90-14 to do that. But again, if you're joining us a little bit late, all of the stitches that you're looking at right now, all the stitch patterns were generated by this machine through the embroidery kit, which is rapidly manipulating stitch width, basically laying down the equivalent of a zigzag with different stitch widths rapidly changing to generate these patterns. All right, let's turn over, look at the lock stitch. I'll show it to you this like this as well. Lock stitch. You look at the other side of the material, you can see how crooked I sew sometimes when I'm laying these down, right? Turn it like this. Let's get real close. This is again our lock stitch. Let's get really close to the camera. Really lovely, lovely, lovely stitches, aren't they? You can get a contemporary computerized machine to generate something the equivalent of this. But when you think about that, this was put together, added onto a machine that came out in 1932. The Class 30 PFAFF machines came out in 1932 only as a zigzag machine. That was it. And the Germans, through very careful engineering, developed this embroidery kit. They developed this embroidery kit that they attached to the back of the existing Class 130, again, that started out in 1932. And they get it to do stuff like this. It really blows you away, doesn't it? It really quite amazing. Again, there's our lock stitch, top stitch. All I can say is wow. And how smart is Mr. Maxwell? How smart is Mr. Maxwell? Betty's husband. What a smart guy. Picking out this particular machine. Surely in 1955, there were a lot of machines available. A lot of machines available in 1955. And somehow he ended up zeroing in on this 130-6 and said, that's the one for my wife. That's the one right there. So, wow, smart guy. Very smart guy. Of course, one could argue, I'm gonna step into the ladies' court real quick. One could argue, one could argue, what a smart woman in picking out a smart guy, right? Mrs. Maxwell, Betty, is the one that picked him out, and he's the one that picked this machine. So, what do they say? If you in the hiring circles, if you hire someone smarter than you, it makes you smarter than them. So, as smart as Mr. Maxwell was in picking this machine out, I think Betty was that much smarter, don't you? I mean, I'm just being fair here. She was a smart gal, very smart gal. So let's with it underneath the presser foot before we do our one of our last rows. Let's just take a look at all these again. This is what we've done on the live stream. And again, if you're reluctant to get involved, don't be. Just step out and pick another stitch. Otherwise, I'll probably do one more stitch on here, and then we'll sew some leather, and that'll be it. We'll be done. Oh, I thought I did 332. Did I not do 332 already? I already did. Yeah, the last one I just did, yeah, that's 332. Yep. Exactly. All right, I don't see any other input. I don't see any other input, so I'm going to pick one more stitch. Unless one of my Susie, do you want to pick the last stitch, or Jan? Maybe the owner wants to look at that and pick another stitch. If someone else wants to pick the final stitch, fine with me. Otherwise, I'm going to look at the stitch wheel, see if something jumps off the page at me, and I'll pick the last stitch. Otherwise, if someone else wants to pick it, no problem. But send me a text, because I'm going to be looking at the laptop on the screen that has the stitch wheel. I won't see anything pop up in the live chat. You know what I mean? I won't see the live chat. So if you type something in there, I'm going to miss it. So yeah, if someone else wants to pick it, more power to you. I love it. The owner wants to pick it, all the better. But if the owner says, no, let somebody else pick it, no worries. That's fine as well. That's fine as well. So, all right. So I'm going to look at the stitch card. And again, if anyone else wants to look at the same stitch card, I just copy the URL. This is the stitch card. I just posted the link again, and Susie has done it numerous times through the live stream. So I know we want to give folks the opportunity to participate. The whole purpose of a real good live stream, and I hope we have good live streams, is to get the audience involved. And Susie tries to do that. I try to do that. Emma tries to do that. And all the other leaders want you to get involved. We want you to have a voice and not just watching a live stream, but participating. So if you want to participate, just follow the link that I just put in the live chat. You'll be able to look at that stitch wheel. And again, you can fast forward through it by dragging that little bar back and forth. If you find a stitch that it just jumps off the page and you go, wow, I would love to see Jan's machine do that. Boy, oh boy, would I love to see that. Just jump into the live chat, type those 3 numbers, and we would love to do that for you. I know the owner would love to see that as well from the input from the audience. You know, if there's a stitch that really you'd love to see Betty's machine, now Jan's machine, so go for it. Go for it. Go for it. And that's a text message notification right there. Let's see what we have. $12.45. Oh, wow. Wow. I got 2 of them. What the heck? This is awesome. I got one from the owner saying 412 for Jan, the owner. And then from Susie over in Minnesota, part of my leadership team, she says, let's do 533, Scott. Let's do 533. So let's do it. Let's do it. These will be our last 2 stitches. 412 for Jan, the owner, in honor of Betty, and certainly in honor of Mr. Maxwell too. He picked the machine out, for goodness sakes. And then we'll do 533, and we'll zip down some leather, and then let's call it a day. Let's call it a day after that. So 412 first. 412. All right, let's go over here. So Control A, we'll go to 4. That's it. We're done. Control A is on 4 now. Now we need to go to 1 because we're all the way on 3 right now. Push it back gently, rock it over. Now we're in 1. And then we need to make sure we're at a center needle position. Again, this is our Control C. This is our Control C right here. We need to make sure that it's in the center needle position. All the way to the top is position 1. That's a far left needle position. In the center is a center needle position. And push down all the way to the bottom is going to be a far right needle position, position 3. So 3, 2, 1. And we need to get a 2 on this one to do the one that Jan wants us to do. All right, so I'm going to go all the way top. Let's see here. That should be all the way to the bottom. Okay, I think that's position 2. Let me just double, triple check. Oh, good thing I did. That's position 1. I went all the way to position 3. Gumdrops. Back up to position 2. I think I got it that time. My left hand is getting like a cramp in it. All right, let me try that again. Position 3 all the way down. Right needle position. There we go. Finally. Position 2, center needle position. It shouldn't be that hard, but my hand is getting a little bit of a cramp, so it's hard to feel exactly where that thing is ending. But it's really quite easy to operate, quite easy. All right, let me get a quick sip of soda, and we'll do this 4-1-2 stitch for Jan, and then we'll do a 5-3-3 stitch for Susie. All right, 4-1-2. Let's give this a try. Get my take-up arm all the way up. All right, let's give us a try. See what we think of this one. And let's see my camera angle. Yeah, I'm going to try to, I don't sew straight. I'm going to try to, while I'm sewing, I'll try to grab the camera and get close to the needle again. I think that's a fun point of view to have, isn't it? It's kind of a fun point of view when you're kind of down by the action and you're seeing the needle doing its thing. All right, so I'm going to get it started. All right, I'm going to stop right there. Jan, I love this one. Holy mackerel, it's so cool. It's so cool. What are you telling? What? Oh my gosh, this is awesome. This is super nice. Oh, that's a fun one. That's a fun one, isn't it? It's almost like a mirror image of the other one we did, but it's like that. Yeah, wait till you see this one. What a great choice. What a neat choice. Yeah, if I get another one, I don't get these 130-6s on the workbench all the time. They're a little bit more of a rare machine with the embroidery kit on them. But if I get another one, I'll use a 7511 needle the next time with some embroidery thread. And we'll see how we can impact some of these stitches using that setup instead of using a much larger needle and common thread, more of a common thread. I know Gutermann has some really good embroidery style threads as well. All right, so let's look at this last one, which I love. What a neat pattern. Look at this one first that Jan, the owner, just picked out, and then we'll go on to this last one that Susie picked out. All right, almost there. There we go. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good, like this too? Yeah, this is, wow, what a beautiful pattern. And again, look at it. 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 It's a zigzag. But the embroidery kit took that zigzag and it manipulated it. Boom! rapid, back and forth, narrow, 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 more narrow, more narrow, wide, 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 wide. That's what the embroidery kit is doing. It's just absolutely insane. Just absolutely insane. Let's get closer to that one. Yeah, I like that one a lot. I like that one a lot. Totality, let's take a look at that. It's all that we've done on the live stream today. There it is. Lock stitch. Go like this first, lock stitch, side to side. Actually, I'll get closer to the one we just did. Down here. We've done all of this stitching during the live stream, all of this stitching. We haven't made a single adjustment to the tension, not a single adjustment. Oops, I got the little arrow things pointing the wrong way. Let's go that way. This again is our lock stitch, Absolutely phenomenal. Let's flip it over, do the top stitch. We'll look at that, and then we'll do this final stitch that Susie picked out. Just amazing, amazing 1950s. And they were already doing stuff like this. Just amazing. All right, let's get it set up for that last stitch, and then we'll zip down some leather and we'll call it a day. Okay, my phone went dark, so let's see what that stitch is again. 533, 533. So the one we just did is 412. Now we're going to do 533, 533. So right away with that last number, we know we're going to start with a far right needle position. There's 5. Control B, we move that to 3. So 5, 3. And then we need a far right needle position. A far right needle position. So we've got to take this and we got to move it all the way to the bottom to position 3. That's it. That's it. Let's do this final stitch. We'll buzz down some leather. And unless someone goes, hey, wait. Can you do one last one? Yeah, we probably can. All right, let's check this one out. 533, I think is what it was. 533. Call now. Operators are waiting. 533. Yeah. All right, let's check this one out. Here we go. And I'll change the camera. Hold on real quick. Change the camera angle just a little bit here. We'll get a chance to watch these controls do their dance. Yeah, I think that's just about right. All right, 533. Here we go. Oh, I like this one a lot. What a great stitch to end on. What a great stitch to end as far as sewing on this 100% cotton. Great choice, Susie. Great choice. What a great choice. I like the other one just as much, the one that Jan picked out too. But this is kind of a cutesy one. It's kind of a cutesy stitch. I like this one. And again, feel free to make up your own names. As you look at all the stitches we did during this live stream on this 100% cotton, you want to come up with a brand new stitch name, go for it. You're among friends. And we can all agree to disagree and say, yeah, you can call it that. Why not? You can call that. Absolutely. Make up your own stitch names. It's like a rite of passage. It's a rite of passage. Okay, so the last one we just did is our top stitch. We'll look at that one on the far right over here, the one that Susie just picked out. I like them all. They're all beautiful stitches. And like I said, we only touched the tip of the iceberg. We only touched the tip of the iceberg. Oh, I totally missed that. I missed that column over here because we did so many stitch rows or columns. We did so many. I totally forgot about this one over here. So let me come out a little bit further. Oh my gosh, we're crazy. That bobbin has to be getting low. That bobbin has to be getting low. I mean, don't you think? Don't you think? And again, as spectacular as these are, as page 34 plus as they are, we can make them better by going to a 7511 embroidery needle and using embroidery thread. We can always make things better. Don't you agree? That's what gets us up in the morning. We can always make things better. Let me get closer. Looking at my width here. All right, turn it like this. I think we already looked at it like this, but we'll look at it like this again. So if anyone says to you, come on, get realistic. Get realistic, for goodness sakes. What can you really do? What can you do with a zigzag stitch? Right there. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. So never let somebody say to you, oh, yeah, but it's only a zigzag machine. Well, that's how this PFAFF 130 started out in 1932. They add this embroidery kit to it. It's still a zigzag machine, but all of a sudden, this embroidery kit makes the machine supercharged and says, okay, now let's show them what we can do with a zigzag. Let's show them what we can do with a zigzag. And this is what it looks like. And there's so many other stitches, so many other stitches. If you look at that stitch wheel, at that link that Susie posted, I posted it. It's insane. It's utterly insane what you can do with a zigzag stitch. Utterly insane. Insane, crazy. What? So I'm going to move this to the side now. I'm going to grab a little bit of leather. And if you came late to class, we did the straight stitch and the zigzag already. So we didn't forget. Straight stitch and zigzag. Now let's grab, what do I have here? Saddle grade leather. Oh, that's fun. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay, I need a vote. Please. Give me a vote. Give me a vote. Okay, we can either be semi-boring, which I don't think we're ever semi-boring on this channel. I think we're always like, whoa! So we can either go around in a circle like I love to do, using any pattern that you'd like me to use. Or maybe we can just, the last one we just did that's already set up on the machine, why don't we agree to do that one again? Unless you really have one that's like, whoa, gotta try it. So if you have one of those gotta try it ones, then let Susie know, and Susie will send me a text message and alert me. Otherwise, we'll use Susie's. We'll go around, or we can just be boring and do saddle grade and just go down. Done. What do we have here? Did we already do 533, right? We just did 533. Yeah. So that's an old message. 1240. Yep, that's old. Just seeing if there's one that I missed. I don't think I did. I think that's from Dusty. Yeah, we did Jan's 412. We did Jan's 412. And we did Susie's 533. And then all the other text messages are from my buddy Dusty out in high desert, California. If you joined us late, I had no idea there was a high desert. He said that a couple of times, and I go, hi, what? I thought he was just being friendly, like, hey, hi. So apparently there's a high desert in California. If anyone else doesn't know that, then great. I feel better not having known. Dusty sent me something. I'm not going to share it during the live stream, but it's pretty hilarious. Oh my gosh, we have too much fun. Can you have too much fun? I don't think so. All right, so I'm going to look at the live chat. Should we sew in a circle? Should we just buzz down this? And these two different leathers, if you don't know these, the one on the left is saddle grade leather. The one on the right is protected full grain leather. They're both going to be close in thickness, probably about 3 or 4 ounces of leather. So we can do either one. If we run out of bobbin thread, we run out of bobbin thread, right? Oh, hey, hi to Candido. Candido, look at what I have. You got to see it, man. Tell Rachel that I'm eating one of her pretzels during the live stream. Rachel made these in the country kitchen out in New York. My supply is getting low, but I still have some left. I've shared some, but not a lot. So, yeah. Hand-dipped chocolate pretzels. Yeah. See that? There are certain benefits to getting to know folks through YouTube and everything else. Yeah. I get chocolate-covered pretzels. I love it. All right. I think that was a text message. The boss, and I always say my customers are the boss. The boss has spoken. Jan just sent me a text message and she said, Scott, go around in a circle. Now, having a 9-year-old's mentality, when some adult authority figure says to me, go in a circle, it's nothing short of winning the lottery, because going in a circle is one of my favorite things to do. Now, I will ask the owner real quick, do you want me to do Susie picked, or do you want me to do your other stitch that we did just before? Let me show you what I mean. So I'll leave it up to the owner. We already have it set up for Susie's, but I can just go back to the settings. We can either do Susie's or we can do Jan's. Jan's is the one That's one to the left. The one on the far right is the one that we just did for Susie. So I just need a vote from the owner. Again, the live streams are about the owner, the investment they made, and all of that blah 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 stuff. So do we do Susie's or do we do Jan's that we did prior to it? Yeah, which one should we do? Or if you want to pick a totally new one, that's fine too. So Jan may have typed it in the live chat. Let me look at the live chat. Okay, I'm not seeing any from Jan. I'm not seeing a response from Jan. So I'm going to just march forward with Susie's pattern, and we'll see if we can do that in a circle. Okay, so let me get this into position. And again, protected, if you don't know anything about protected full grain leather, this particular leather, as I shared in a recent live stream, is used to cover the seats of Lear jets, luxury private jets. Okay, Jan just sent a text and said, do Susie's. So this leather is used to basically under the butt, under the bottom of very rich people that fly around in Lear jets. And it's protected full grain so that if they spill some of their drinks on it or other stuff that rich people drink, it's not going to stain this leather. You just wipe it off because it's coated with a coating, a chemical that resists staining. So very, very nice leather. And I get it in scraps. I get it in scraps because I couldn't afford to buy the regular stuff and just sew on it. That's not practical. All right. So let's jump into this. Let's jump into this and sew in a circle. All right, almost there. I'm going to start on the edge and I'll try to work myself into the middle as best as I can. And like I said, if we run out of bobbin thread, we run out of bobbin thread. It's the risk of being rebels, right? It's the risk of being rebels. Okay, I think that's a pretty good angle. Pretty good angle to sew in a circle. All right, let's get this done. Final sew off. Thank you so much to the owner, Jan from the great state of Alabama, in giving me this project opportunity. It really was a privilege and an honor to do this, and I see it as kind of a legacy piece because of the roots going all the way back to 1955 when Jan's mom Betty got this brand new. So we're building a legacy. We're continuing a legacy, and now we can wrap it up by being a child at heart and sewing in a circle. All right, let's get this done. And when this kind of loops around, I'm going to see if I can cut those threads so I don't get them tangled up. All right, here we go. And again, I hope we don't run out of bobbin thread, but we'll see. Oh, I just had a skippy thread. Hold on real quick. I think it's the way this spool is feeding. I'm going to take it off of that felt and just let it run on the surface of the machine. All right, let me cut those threads real quick. Starting to slow it down because I'm getting pretty tight on that circle. Starting to really slow it down. I'm going to stop there. Otherwise, I'm going to end up sewing my finger probably. Oh, is that fun? Isn't that fun? I think it's fun. Sewing in a circle is like the best. Sewing in a circle is the best. And I have to just pause real quick and say thank you again to Alex and his wife out in California. If you missed the other live stream, they sent me a goodie bag from Wawac, which is a sewing machine company that's been in existence for like over 100 years. And some of the goodies they sent included these clips because they probably heard me say my blue ones that you've seen in all the videos. My blue ones are just like dead. And these are sharper than a razor blade. I love them. So thank you again to Alex and his wife for these wonderful clips and all the other goodies you sent as well. Now let's check this out. And all I can say is what an incredible, 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 incredible machine this PFAFF 130-6 is. Just look at that. And all of these sew-offs go with the machine. When I ship this back to Alabama, this is going with the machine. Yep. I'm going to turn it. It's kind of fun to turning, isn't it? Look, Mom, I'm turning it like a wheel. Look, Mom, it's a wheel. It's almost like the Outer Limits. Did anyone watch the Outer Limits like back in the day? You know, they start with that little thing spinning. You're in time and space. Do not attempt to adjust your television set. You are now entering the outer limits. Woo, woo, woo. Oh, beautiful stitching. Absolutely crazy stitching. Done with an embroidery needle on protected full grain leather. Yeah. Let's look at that lock stitch. Unbelievable lock stitch. Hello. There's our lock stitch. The lock stitch is really impressive. I mean, you consider the fact that we sewed through protected full grain leather using an embroidery needle, but the other side is really the impressive side as you look at the intricacy of that stitching. Again, generated by a class 130 that was introduced in 1932 as a zigzag only machine, and it still is a zigzag only machine, but it has that superpower of the embroidery kit being able to generate all of these stitches by manipulating stitch width so rapidly it would make your head spin. I mean, it's so fast. I mean, it would be like being able to thread a sewing machine when it's running, right? It's that fast. It's manipulating the stitch width to generate all of these beautiful stitches. Really quite amazing, quite amazing. And then we did these. We didn't do a ton of sewing, but we did some sewing. We did all of these as well that many of you helped to pick. So I'll say it again. If if anyone ever, maybe one of those contemporary folks that all they have such a bias to contemporary computerized machines, they say, "Well, what can you really do? What can you do with a zigzag sewing machine? I've got a computerized blah blah blah." Take them back to this video. And again, this is only the tip of the iceberg, and show them what a zigzag masterfully being manipulated by German engineering is capable of doing. Yeah, that'll put them in their place pretty quick, probably. And who knows, maybe you'll make a new friend, a new vintage friend, right? And then it's kind of almost boring, but then we did a straight stitch and a zigzag much earlier on in the live stream. And with that, I'm going to take a bite of the yummy pretzel that Candido and Rachel made in their country kitchen out in New York. And I'm just going to say, have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great rest of your weekend. And don't hate me because I have hand dipped with Ghirardelli chocolate made with the loving hands of Candido's wife, Rachel, saying, we need to make that guy fat in Wisconsin. We're going to make Scott fat if we keep sending him stuff like this. No, you won't, because I'm going to get out and walk and walk and walk and walk and walk and walk and do my push-ups and do my stomach crunches, and then I'm going to eat more pretzels. Oh, these are good. Oh, these are these are so good. They really are. So I think I just spit. Have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Jan for honoring me with this great project. And sometime this coming week, again, I'm the only guy in the workshop. Kind of like our friend that popped in wanting to know about their Viking. God bless them. I'm the only guy. So this week will be a combination of working on more machines, and also getting this 130-6 packed up and heading back to Alabama. I had to do it. From the Forrest Gump movie. Alabama. I think I'm doing it right. Someone in the South can probably do it better than I can. But these are really good pretzels. And if you're really nice to Candido and Rachel and you become close friends and you have Thanksgiving together, I'll bet you Rachel will make you some hand-dipped Ghirardelli chocolate pretzels too. But in the meantime, they're just mine. I'm not sharing. Not going to share. All right, take care, everybody. Got another text message. Hold on. What do we have? What do we have? Oh, it's a message. Hey, Scott. Oh, no, that was the other one. Thanks so much, Scott. Can't wait to get the PFAFF in the cabinet. By the way, 1591, not a 99. That makes more sense. Yeah, the 1591 is a full size machine, or more full size machine. Yeah, great machine. Great machine. And isn't it weird? I'll just share this real quick as we're wrapping up. Jan, the owner, just sent me this text saying it's not a 99K, which I figured it wasn't because she said it was comparable in size to this machine. It's a 1591. Remember this. Remember. The Class 130 was introduced in 1932. The Singer 1591, Jan's other machine, also introduced in 1932. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. A little bit of polka music to wrap us up. And thank you again to the leaders that helped to support this. I think it was primarily Susie today. Emma is at work and was able to pop in occasionally, but I think Susie carried the brunt of it. So thank you so much to Susie from Minnesota for taking care of the family. Thank you for taking care of the family. Thank you again to Jan, the owner down in Alabama. And I remember Jan's original note. The whole family is excited about this because, again, it's a legacy piece that belongs to the family, remembering Betty, embracing Betty, and loving on Betty. And this will be a living legacy for generations to come. So that's really cool. All right, polka music. I want polka music. I just have to find it. Hold on. Polka music to wrap us up. And as you need to step away. That I'm hoping to present on Tuesday morning. So keep watch for that. And yeah, the wheels never stop here, do they? They never stop. Hold on, let's get some more polka music. This is kind of like circus music, but it's kind of like polka. This is an old polka song. You stand over here, miss. Yeah, stand over here. And you're not blocking the stitching, see? All right, take care, everybody. God bless.